Have you ever wondered what would happen if a Disney princess met a Disney villain's heir when they were just kids? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most powerful and underrated love stories in the Disney universe, the tale of Kiara and Kovu from The Lion King 2. Simba's Pride. It's a story that asks a huge question: can love truly conquer a legacy of hate? Let's find out. Our story begins in the vast, sun-drenched Pride Lands, a kingdom still healing from the dark reign of Scar. King Simba, now a father, is fiercely protective of his daughter, Princess Kiara. He's seen the worst of the world, and he's determined to shield her from it. But Kiara is a true lion cub, brimming with curiosity and a thirst for adventure that just can't be contained. She's spirited, playful, and a little bit rebellious. One day, while her bumbling babysitters Timon and Pumbaa are distracted, Kiara sees her chance. She slips away from the safety of Pride Rock, her heart pounding with the thrill of the unknown, venturing further and further from home. Drawn toward the shadowy borders of her kingdom, the Forbidden Outlands. It's in this desolate, unwelcoming territory that her world is about to change forever. As she explores the strange, dusty landscape, she literally stumbles upon another cub. But this isn't a his fur is a deep, rich brown, his eyes are startling green, and he carries an air of toughness that Kiara has never seen before. His name is Kovu. Their first encounter is tense. They circle each other like two young warriors, sniffing the air, their bodies coiled with suspicion. Generations of conflict and prejudice hang unspoken between them. Kovu, raised in exile, breaks the silence first. His voice is bold, challenging. "Who are you, Pridelander?" he asks, sizing her up. Kiara, never one to be intimidated, tilts her head, her own courage flaring. "What are you doing here?" she counters. "My father says never to turn your back on an outsider." You can just feel the weight of Simba's words in that moment. The inherited fear passed down from father to daughter. But Kovu just smirks, a flash of defiance in his eyes. He pokes at her obedience. "You always do what Daddy says." It's the perfect challenge. Kiara's pride is stung. "Bet you don't," she shoots back. Kovu puffs out his little chest, trying to look big and strong. "An outsider doesn't need anybody," he declares with a fierce independence, born from a harsh life. "I take care of myself." Instead of being scared or put off, Kiara is fascinated. A grin spreads across her face. "Really? Cool." And just like that, with one word, the wall of suspicion begins to crumble. The tension dissolves, replaced by the simple, universal language of play. It's a magical transformation. The labels of Pridelander and outsider melt away, leaving just two cubs, eager for fun. Kiara darts ahead, her playful nature taking over. "You run, I tag," she calls out. Kovu, who has probably never experienced this kind of carefree joy, laughs and leaps after her. They chase each other across the dry grass, tumbling, rolling, and pouncing in a whirlwind of laughter and energy. In this moment, they aren't enemies destined for conflict. They're just kids discovering a new friend. As they play, they find themselves near a river filled with crocodiles. In a moment of teamwork, they escape the snapping jaws together, their shared danger forging an even stronger bond. Panting and exhilarated, they catch their breath on a safe ledge. "Wow," Kiara says, her eyes wide. "That was a close one." A genuine smile touches Kovu's lips, perhaps one of the first real smiles of his life. "You're pretty brave," he admits, a newfound respect in his voice. Kiara giggles, her heart light. "So are you." It's a beautiful, pure moment of friendship, blossoming in the most unlikely of places. They see each other not for who their families are, but for who they are as individuals. But this perfect moment of connection is tragically short-lived. A massive shadow falls over them, instantly chilling the air. Simba has arrived, and he is furious. His eyes blaze with a protective fire that only a father can have. "Rah," he growls, and the single word is enough to freeze his daughter in her tracks. His roar rips through the savannah, a terrifying display of power and anger directed at the small cub beside his daughter. "Get out of the Pride Lands." Before Kovu can even react, another presence emerges from the shadows. Behind Simba, the outsiders appear a pack of lionesses, their bodies lean and scarred from a life of hardship, their faces etched with resentment. At their head stands a fearsome lioness with eyes sharp with a burning, obsessive anger. This is Kiara Kovu's mother. The atmosphere crackles with old hatred. Zira's voice cuts through the tension, filled with a sense of righteous fury. These lands belong to Scar. She declares, her words a direct challenge to Simba's rule. Simba's mane bristles. He stands tall, a king defending his territory and his family. Scar is gone, he retorts, his voice low and dangerous. I banished you and your kind. You have no place here. Zira lets out a chilling, scornful laugh. She looks at Simba with pure contempt and then reveals her ultimate weapon, her plan for revenge. Then meet my son, Kovu, she snarls, shoving the young cub forward. She proclaims he was chosen by Scar himself to follow in his pawprints and become king. Simba's gaze drops to the small, trembling cub, who, just moments before, was laughing and playing with his daughter. The warmth is gone from Simba's eyes, replaced by a cold, hard judgment. That's no king, he says dismissively, seeing not a child, but the heir to his greatest enemy. Zira's voice then drips with a venomous mix of desperation and manipulation. She speaks of their exile in the Outlands, a place where food is scarce and water scarcer. She knows she has broken Simba's law by returning. You know the penalty for returning, she says. But the child does not. You must take your pound of flesh, then take him. It's a twisted, horrifying gamble, sacrificing her own son to guilt-trip the king. But then she delivers her final, chilling promise, a vow of unending war. But know this, Simba, we are not finished. As Simba stands firm, shielding Kiara behind him, Zira retreats. Her sinister laughter echoes across the savannah, a haunting promise of the conflict to come. Her eyes remain fixed on Pride Rock, a symbol of everything she believes was stolen from her. And in the middle of this epic clash of kings and queens, of past sins and future wars, are two small cubs. Kiara and Kovu, who had just discovered the joy of friendship, are torn apart. They are pulled back into their separate worlds by the immense, crushing weight of their parents' history. Their innocent connection is the first casualty in a war they didn't start. This single meeting sets the stage for everything that follows a story of forbidden love, inherited hate, and the hope that the next generation can heal the wounds of the past. What do you think? Was Simba right to be so harsh, or was he letting his own trauma cloud his judgment? Could this one moment have changed everything if the parents had reacted differently? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks so much for watching and exploring this amazing story with me. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you won't miss our next Disney analysis. Until next time, stay magical. The first light of dawn crept across the wounded land, painting the plains in soft gold. Smoke rose from the battlefield where two prides had clashed, and silence followed, the kind of silence that feels too heavy, too still. Karo stood over Naya, his heart pounding, his breath shallow. Around them, the sun pride and the night pride lay scattered, exhausted, broken, but alive. The war had stopped, not because either side had won, but because something else had silenced them all. Karo turned toward the ridge. The wind carried a strange scent, not of lion, not of any creature he knew. It was cold, metallic, almost ancient. He saw movement silhouettes, large and slow, emerging from the shimmering heat beyond the desert. Naya stirred weakly beside him. What is that? Karo didn't answer. His father, King Zira, had seen it too. His face, normally carved from stone, flickered with something Karo had never seen before, fear. Then came the sound. A low, guttural growl that rumbled through the ground. Every lion froze. The figures stepped into the light, lions, but not like them. Their fur was dark gray, scarred and coarse like ash. Their eyes glowed faintly red, and their leader wore a jagged scar across his muzzle. King Raho stepped forward, his mane glinting in the dawn. Who are you, Beth? The stranger's voice was deep, calm, dangerous. We are the Dusk Pride. You fight over old grudges, while the land dies around you. We come to claim what's left. Vero snarled. You dare cross into our plains? The stranger smiled, baring long teeth. Your plains? No, old king, you bled them dry. We only take what your hate left behind. Fear thickened. Lions from both prides formed uneasy lines, forgetting their feud for the first time. Karo whispered, "They're too many." Raho growled, "We hold the ridge. This is our home." The Dusk Pride leader took one step forward. "Then you will die defending it." Before anyone could speak, a dark lioness leaped from his side. Faster than lightning, she struck one of the Sun Pride scouts, sending him tumbling into the dust. Chaos erupted again, but this time, it wasn't war between sun and night, it was survival. Karo and Nia fought side by side, claws flashing, hearts pounding. For every enemy they pushed back, two more seemed to appear. The Dusk Lions moved like shadows, silent and ruthless. King Raho roared commands. Hold the line, protect the young. But the Dusk Pride didn't care for honor. They fought to end, not to conquer. Amid the chaos, Karo caught sight of their leader watching from afar, calm, observing, not fighting, just waiting. Karo's father lunged toward him. Coward, face me. The Dusk leader only smiled. Patience, Vero. All kings fall in time. Holiday. He gave a subtle signal, and a group of lions flanked Vero from behind. Karo shouted, "Father!" and leaped forward, striking one away, but another raked his shoulder. Vero turned, teeth bared, but one of the Dusk Lions slammed into him, sending him sprawling. Raho saw it and charged. The two kings, once enemies, now stood back to back against the invaders. For the first time, they fought not for pride or vengeance, but for survival. Hours passed before the battle waned. The Dusk Pride withdrew slowly, leaving only silence and fear behind. The air was thick with smoke and dust. Raho limped toward the ridge, mane torn, blood streaking his flank. "They'll come again," he muttered, "and next time, they won't stop." Vero lay nearby, breathing heavily. His son knelt beside him. "Father, don't speak." Yul Vero raised a paw weakly. "No, Karo, listen to me." His voice was rough, trembling. "You are right. I was blinded by hate. Your love for her, it's the only thing that can save them now." "Save who?" Karo asked. Everyone. Vero's eyes softened. "When I'm gone, protect them." "Protect her." Karo shook his head, tears burning in his eyes. "No, you'll see the next dawn." But Vero only smiled faintly. "Then promise me, son. Promise you won't become me." Karo pressed his head against his father's paw. "I promise." As the sun set again over the blood-stained plains, two prides gathered what strength remained. They buried their fallen under the red earth, side by side, sun and night together. For the first time in generations, their roars rose together in mourning, not anger. That night, the stars shimmered faintly above the silent ridge. Nia sat beside Karo, her head resting against his shoulder. "He's right," she whispered. "The Dusk Pride won't stop. They'll come again." Karo looked at her, his gaze steady. "Then we have to unite them." "Unite them," she echoed. "The prides," he said. "Yours and mine. My father's dying wish, your father's greatest fear. It's the only way." She smiled sadly. "Our fathers would never have agreed." Karo's eyes darkened. "Then maybe we don't ask." A long silence. The wind rustled through the grass. Nia whispered, "They'll never follow us. Then we'll lead them by example. Together, always." They leaned close, and for a moment, the world was still. But then a low growl rolled across the plains. From the far ridge, torches flickered. The Dusk Pride had returned, not alone this time, but with hyenas at their side, dozens of them, their laughter echoing in the night. Raho's voice rose from the camp. Two arms. Karo stood, mane blowing in the wind. "They won't rest." Nia stepped beside him, her eyes fierce. "Then neither will we." As the two prides scrambled to defend what was left of their home, Nia's gaze turned toward the horizon. In the distance, beyond the dark line of the desert, she saw something faint, but real. A flicker of light. a reflection like fire. "Karo," she said quietly, "someone else is out there." He followed her gaze. "What do you mean?" "The dusk lions. They're not the only ones moving across the sands." Thunder rolled in the distance, though no storm followed. Karo looked at her, heart heavy with both hope and dread. "Then this isn't the end." "No," she whispered, "it's only beginning." And as the moon rose over the wounded earth, their shadows stretched long and joined, one golden, one dark, standing side by side as the savannah trembled under the weight of the coming storm. To be continued. The moon hung low over the savannah, pale and watchful. Smoke curled upward from distant fires, and the night air trembled with quiet dread. The dusk pride had withdrawn again, but everyone knew it was only to gather strength. Karo stood on a boulder overlooking the plains. His golden mane glowed faintly in the moonlight, eyes reflecting both grief and resolve. Below him, lions from the sun and night prides rested together for the first time. Uneasy allies bound by survival. Cubs huddled beside mothers from both sides. Once enemies now shared the same silence. Nia approached quietly, her dark fur blending with the shadows. "They're frightened," she said softly. "Even the elders whisper that the stars have turned their backs." Karo didn't move. "Maybe they're right." "No," she said. "They're watching, waiting to see what we do next." He turned to her, voice heavy. "You really believe love can stop what's coming?" Nia smiled faintly. "No, but it can make us brave enough to try." A faint wind stirred the grass, and with it came the faintest of sounds. A drumbeat, a pulse. No. Footsteps. Rahos. Roars split the air. Two arms, they're coming. Karo leapt down as the ground began to vibrate. Over the ridge, shadows swarmed, not just lions, but hyenas, jackals, vultures circling above. And at their head, the dusk leader, the scarred lion with burning red eyes. But something was different. His mane seemed darker, heavier, almost made of smoke. He roared, and the very ground shivered. "This land belongs to no king. It belongs to the forgotten," Raho snarled, stepping forward beside Karo. "Then you'll join them." The dusk leader laughed, a deep echoing sound. "You still don't understand, do you?" He raised his paw, and the hyenas began their charge. The night exploded into chaos, claws, roars, the clash of bodies. Karo and Nia fought side by side again, every movement in perfect rhythm. She leapt over his back to strike a hyena down. He shielded her from another's jaws. Their connection was wordless, instinctive. But as the battle raged, Karo noticed something strange. Every lion the dusk leader clawed seemed to rise again, their eyes faintly glowing red, joining his ranks without hesitation. Karo's breath caught. "Nia, they're not alive." She turned, horror flooding her face. "What are they?" Raho roared over the din. "He's cursed them. Stay away from him." Karo charged through the fray, cutting a path toward the leader. Dust and blood blurred the world. Finally, he faced him atop the ridge, the moon burning silver behind them. "Who are you?" Karo demanded. "What are you doing to them?" The leader tilted his head, eyes cold and calm. "I was king once, long before your fathers learned to roar. The land betrayed me. The prides turned against me. Now, I take back what was mine." "You're lying," Karo snarled. The dark lion smiled faintly. "Am I?" asked the stars. They remember the name Zira's son. Karo froze. "Zero, yes," the leader whispered. "Your pride killed her. My mother. My name is Kuro, and I was born to end what she could not." Karo's heart pounded. Zira, the lioness who nearly destroyed the circle of life, the one who had vanished into the desert with her followers. Her cub had survived. Kuro stepped closer. "The circle betrayed us all. The kings sit above while the rest starve below. You think your love can change that?" He struck, claws flashing. Karo barely dodged, the impact shaking the ridge. They fought in a blur of fury and dust. Kuro's power was unnatural. Each strike felt heavier than the last. Karo staggered back, bleeding, vision fading. Below, Nia saw him fall and roared, a sound that shook every heart on the battlefield. She leaped toward the ridge, dodging through chaos. Hyenas tried to block her, but she tore through them like stormfire Karo. She shouted, leaping to his side. He struggled to rise. Nia, run. Not without you. Kuro's eyes glowed brighter. How touching. She would die for you. Then let her. He lunged, but something stopped him mid-air. A shockwave of light burst between them. The clouds parted. From above, the faint shimmer of ancestral spirits flickered, lions made of starlight, circling the battlefield. Everyone froze. Even the Dusk Pride faltered. An ancient voice echoed across the plains. The balance must be restored. Kuro roared. No. I was promised vengeance. You were promised a choice, the voice said. And you chose hate. The light flared. Kuro screamed, his shadowy mane unraveling into dust. The red glow in his followers' eyes dimmed, and one by one, they collapsed, lifeless again. Silence fell. The wind carried the faint smell of rain. Karo collapsed beside Nia, breathing hard. It's over. She shook her head softly. No, not yet. Kuro lay a few feet away, half buried in the dust, barely alive. He looked up at Karo, eyes no longer glowing, but full of sorrow. She told me I'd never understand love. She was right. Karo hesitated, then stepped closer. You still can. Kuro gave a faint laugh. It's too late for me. His breath faded, and with it, the last echoes of the curse. The first drops of rain fell, washing blood and dust from the earth. Lions lifted their heads as thunder rolled, a sound of cleansing, of rebirth. Raho limped forward, eyes meeting Karos. You saved us both prides. You did what no king could. Karo bowed his head. Not a king, just a lion who refused to hate. Raho smiled faintly. Then maybe that's what a king should be. As dawn broke, the two prides stood together. The young, the wounded, the old, all watching the horizon where sunlight pierced through the clouds. Nia pressed against Karo, whispering, "We did it." He looked at her with a quiet smile. "We survived." But as they turned to walk down the ridge, Nia paused. Her ears twitched. "Karo, do you hear that?" He frowned. A distant rumble. Not thunder, not wind. Something heavier. Over the far dunes, the horizon shimmered and faint shapes appeared again. Not lions this time. Something larger, moving in formation. Elephants. No two-legged figures. Carrying fire. Nia's voice trembled. "What are those?" Karo stared, unable to answer. The scent was strange, not animal, not natural. He whispered, "Something's coming." The camera pulls back slowly over the plains, over the scars of battle, over the rising sun painting the world gold and red. And far beyond the dunes, dark smoke rises from a new camp, where voices echo in the strange language of humans. A cub's voice whispers in the wind. Will the circle hold? To be continued. 2. The wind carried the scent of smoke again. But this time, it wasn't from lions. It was something colder, unfamiliar. The dawn that once brought peace now rose over a land uncertain of its fate. Karo stood on the edge of Pride Rock, his mane rustling in the wind. His eyes scanned the horizon, the dunes where they had seen the shapes, the shadows that moved like ghosts. Below, the two prides were rebuilding, cubs playing in the early light, mothers cleaning wounds, the elders whispering prayers to the stars. Nia joined him, her eyes gentle yet alert. "You haven't slept," she said softly. Karo's gaze didn't move. "I can't. That feeling, it hasn't left." She stepped closer. "The war is over, Karo." "Wars end," he murmured, "but something else always begins." Low rumble echoed far off like thunder, but steadier. The ground quivered beneath their paws. Nia's eyes widened. "It's them again, isn't it?" Karo said nothing, only leapt down from the rock, calling for Raho, "Gather the hunters. I want eyes on those dunes." The pride obeyed, their unity now instinctive, born from shared pain. Raho led a group of lions toward the ridge while Nia stayed behind, watching over the cubs. But her heart wouldn't rest. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher. Then came the roar, not of lions, but something deeper, stranger. Roho's voice carried through the air. "Karo, you need to see this." Karo raced toward the dunes, sand burning beneath his paws. When he reached the ridge, his breath caught. Below them, moving through the desert, were enormous shapes of metal and fire. Machines unlike anything the Savannah had ever seen. Their sound drowned out the wind. Behind them walked men, clothed in strange skins, carrying long sticks that glittered in the light. Naya arrived beside him, eyes wide. What are they? Caro shook his head. I don't know, but they're not beasts. The humans set up camp near the watering hole, their watering hole. One of the machines belched smoke that spread across the grasslands. Birds fled the trees. Even the elephants trumpeted and retreated into the forests. Raho growled. They're poisoning the land. Caro's voice was low but steady. We'll warn them. We'll make them leave. That night, under the moonlight, Caro led a small group, Naya, Raho, and 2 hunters. They crept close to the camp. Firelight flickered on strange objects. The men laughed, their voices harsh. The lions could smell food, roasted meat, not of any creature they knew. Then, a sharp crack split the air. One of the lions stumbled back, roaring in pain. Blood hit the sand. The humans shouted. More cracks, more light. The lions fled, hearts pounding. Back at the den, Nia's voice shook. We can't fight that. Whatever those things are, they kill from a distance. Caro stared into the flames. Everything bleeds, everything breaks. We'll find a way. Days passed. The humans built fences, marked territory with strange symbols, and the grasslands grew quieter. Herds vanished. The rivers ran muddy, too. The pride was starving again. Naya pleaded. We have cubs, Caro. We can't lose them to another war. He turned to her, eyes shadowed by exhaustion. If we let them take everything, there'll be nothing left for anyone. Not even peace. Raho stepped forward. We stand with you, brother. Whatever comes. That night, under a blood-red moon, Caro led his pride to the humans' camp. Not for battle, but for warning. He stood tall, his roar echoing across the plains, deep and mighty. The men froze. For a moment, the whole savannah held its breath. Then, one of the humans stepped forward, a young woman. She didn't raise her weapon. Instead, she knelt, placing her hand on the ground between them. Caro watched her cautiously. Her voice was soft, trembling. We don't want to harm you, she whispered. But our world is dying too. Naya stepped beside him. She speaks like she understands. Caro said nothing, but lowered his head slightly, a sign of truce. The woman smiled faintly. Behind her, others watched, uncertain. For the first time, the 2 worlds stood face to face. But peace, like dawn, is fragile. As the lions turned to leave, a loud shout broke the silence. Tone. Another human, older, harsher, raised his weapon. A crack of thunder tore the night apart. The young woman screamed. No. Nia fell to the ground, a dark stain spreading beneath her. Caro's world shattered. He lunged forward with a roar that shook the earth. The humans scattered in terror. The young woman fell to her knees beside Naya, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Caro pressed his head against Nia's. Her breathing was shallow. You must not let them win, she whispered. Protect the circle, Nia. Stay with me. He roared, but her eyes slowly closed. The wind fell silent. Even the stars seemed to dim. Raho approached, trembling, but Caro didn't answer. He lifted his head and roared into the sky, a cry of grief that rolled across the plains for miles. Every creature stopped to listen. When morning came, the humans were gone. Their camp abandoned. Only tracks and ashes remained. The pride gathered around Naya's resting place, beneath a great acacia tree, where sunlight filtered through the leaves like falling gold. Caro stood alone, watching the horizon. Raho spoke softly behind him. She believed the circle could be saved. Caro's eyes hardened. Then, I'll save it. Years passed. The land healed slowly, scar by scar. Cubs grew into hunters, hunters into leaders. But legends whispered still of a golden-maned lion who ruled alone, who spoke to no one but the wind. One night, under the full moon, a young lioness approached the old acacia tree. Her fur shimmered silver in the moonlight, and her eyes, strikingly familiar, glowed with quiet fire. She looked up at the stars and whispered, "Mother, Father, I'll finish what you started." A breeze stirred the grass, carrying distant echoes, a roar, soft yet eternal, answering from the heavens. Far away, across the dunes, the faint glow of fire returned, not from machines, but from torches carried by shadows. Voices murmured in the darkness. "They think the lions are gone. Then they'll never see what's coming next." The wind rose, howling over the plains, as if the land itself was preparing for another storm. And somewhere deep within that wind, two familiar roars echoed together, not of sorrow, but of warning. The circle was not broken. It was turning again. The legacy of Nia and Caro continues. The first light of dawn touched the horizon, soft, golden, and trembling like hope reborn. The Savannah, still breathing from the storm of the night before, smelled of rain and earth. And there, standing on the edge of the cliff, Nia watched the sunrise with her eyes half closed. Her mane shimmered in the light. Behind her, the Pride lands were awakening. But peace was fragile. Beside her, Caro limped quietly, his scarred legs still aching from battle. "The sun rises," he said softly, "but for how long will it shine for us?" Nia didn't answer. She was listening to the whisper of the wind that moved through the long grass, carrying the scent of something distant, something old. They had returned victorious, or so they thought. The dark Pride had fallen. Its leader vanished into the desert. The circle of the sun was safe. For now, but every victory carries a shadow. As they descended the cliff toward the den, their daughter Ari ran to meet them. Her golden fur gleamed with youth and curiosity, her eyes holding both her mother's fire and her father's patience. "Mother, Father, the elders are calling for you," she said eagerly. "They say something strange has been found near the eastern border." Caro exchanged a wary glance with Nia. "Strange?" Ori nodded. "It's a mark, burned into the ground, like a sun but broken." Nia's heart froze. Shu remembered that symbol, an ancient crest once used by the lions who had worshipped the shadow moon, enemies of the circle long before her birth. They hurried to the eastern ridge, where a group of lions had gathered around a blackened patch of earth. The soil was charred in a perfect circle, split down the middle by a crack that glowed faintly, like embers still alive beneath the surface. One of the elders stepped forward. "It appeared after the storm," he said gravely. "We thought the rain had ended all fires, but this one came from below." Caro knelt beside it, his paw hovering above the scorched mark. The air felt cold, unnaturally cold. "This is no accident," he whispered. "This is a warning." That night, the Pride gathered under the stars. The fire crackled, and the air was heavy with unease. Ori sat between her parents, staring at the distant hills. "What does it mean?" she asked softly. Nia looked into the flames. "It means," she said, "that our story isn't over yet." Caro's ears twitched. "Do you hear that?" A low rumble, far away, but unmistakable, rolled across the plains. Thunder, or something else. Then came the scent, sharp and foreign. Not of lion, but of something mixed, wild, and ancient. The same scent they had smelled years ago, in the ashes of the fallen dark Pride. The Pride stirred restlessly. The guards along the ridge raised their heads, eyes gleamed in the dark, dozens of them watching from the shadows beyond the firelight. Nia rose slowly, her voice calm but commanding. "Stay behind me." Caro stepped forward, muscles tensed. "Show yourself." For a moment, silence. Then, from the black of the savannah, a single figure stepped out. A lion but larger, his mane dark as midnight, his eyes like molten gold. His face bore the same broken sun symbol that was burned into the earth. "Slow long time. Nia of the circle," he said, voice deep and cold. "Did you think the shadows would rest forever?" Caro growled. "Who are you?" The stranger smiled faintly. "A name from a forgotten song. I am Varu, son of the one your Pride buried beneath the dunes." A shiver passed through Nia. "You are of the dark Pride." Varu's eyes gleamed. "No," he said slowly. "I am what remains after the dark Pride. Have come to reclaim what your circle stole." Before Caro could move, Varu's claws dug into the soil. The broken sun mark beneath them flickered, and the ground trembled. From the cracks emerged faint whispers, like 1,000 lost voices calling from beneath the earth. The pride stepped back, fear spreading like wildfire. Ori clung to her mother's leg. "Mama, what's happening?" Naya's gaze stayed fixed on Varu. "This is old magic," she said, "magic that should have died with your ancestors." "Magic never dies," Varu hissed. "It only waits." He turned his gaze to Ori, and his expression changed. "So, this is your cub, the child of peace between two prides, fitting she will carry the burden of both light and shadow." Karo's roar split the air. He leapt forward, claws flashing, but Varu vanished into a swirl of dust before he could strike. Only his voice remained, carried on the wind. "Prepare your pride, circle of the sun, for when the moon swallows the dawn, the past will rise again." Then silence. The fires dimmed, the earth cooled, Ori trembled. "Father, what did he mean?" Karos' jaw tightened. "It means he's coming back." Days passed, the pride doubled their patrols. But Nia felt it, the slow, creeping shift in the air, like the savannah itself was holding its breath. Each night, the moon grew darker, each dawn, the sun seemed weaker. Animals fled the plains, birds no longer sang. And then, on the 7th night, it happened. The moon rose, blood red, the sky burned. And from the far desert came the roar of an army. Thousands of eyes gleamed in the darkness. Lions lean, scarred, their fur stained with ash. Behind them, at their head, walked Varu. The pride gathered on the high ridge. Naya stood at the front, Karo beside her, Ori between them. "This is where it ends," Naya said quietly. Karo nodded. "Or begins again." The two armies faced each other in the dying light. Then, without a word, the storm broke. Thought. The battle that followed would be remembered for generations. The clash of claws, the roar of fury, the thunder of paws upon earth, dust filled the air, blood met rain, and the circle burned beneath the crimson moon. Varu's roar echoed above the chaos. "You cannot fight fate," he bellowed. Naya lunged at him, their bodies colliding with the force of two storms. Claws met claws, teeth met steel, sparks flew. "You talk of fate," Nia growled, "but you know nothing of it." She struck, but Varu was fast. His paws slashed across her shoulder. She staggered, then caught his mane and hurled him to the ground. Karo rushed forward, pinning Varu's flank. Together they pressed him back toward the cliff's edge. "Look around you," Nia cried. "Your pride is falling. Your war is lost." Varu laughed, low and bitter. "Lost? No, Queen. I've already won." He thrust his paw toward the sky, and the blood moon split, its light bursting into 1,000 shards. The ground shook. Cracks opened beneath their paws. Karo leapt to push Naya away as the cliff broke apart. Naya, the world fell. Dust and silence. When the storm cleared, dawn returned, pale and trembling. The moon was gone. The sky was clean. And the savannah lay still once more. At the edge of the broken ridge, Ori stood, her small form trembling as she gazed down the ravine. There, far below, lay the remains of the cliff. And beside the fallen rocks, no sign of Varu, no body, no trace. But among the rubble, she saw movement, her mother's mane, faintly glowing in the sunlight. "Mama," she scrambled down, paws slipping on loose stones, until she reached Naya. The queen stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Karo was there too, battered, scarred, but alive. He limped forward and nuzzled her. "It's over," he whispered. Naya looked around at the sunrise, the real sunrise this time, warm and alive. "No," she said softly, "it's just beginning." Ori looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" Nia touched her daughter's cheek. "Because every dawn comes after a darkness. And one day, you will face yours." Ori turned to the horizon. In the distance, the savannah stretched endless and bright. But for just a heartbeat, she thought she saw far away, beyond the dunes, a shadow moving, slow and patient. She blinked. It was gone. But the wind carried a faint whisper, the same voice that once haunted her parents. every circle begins again. And as the sun rose over the Pride Lands, Ori stood between light and shadow, the bridge of both worlds, destined to lead them into whatever came next. The circle had survived, but the story was far from over. Fez, the Pride Lands lay quiet under a golden dusk. The wind carried the scent of rain, and the sky rippled with shades of crimson and gold. From the highest ridge, Kiara watched the plain stretch endlessly beneath her, the world wrapped in silence before the storm. The grass bent with each breath of wind, and in the distance, thunder murmured softly, like the heartbeat of something ancient. Kovu climbed the ridge, his dark mane brushing the wind, his amber eyes filled with both strength and worry. He stopped beside Kiara, their fur brushing gently in the breeze. "You've been here since sunrise," he said softly. "The storm isn't here yet, but your heart seems already lost in it." Kiara's gaze remained on the horizon. The birds have flown west, the zebras have left the valley, even the river has begun to shrink. Something is changing, Kovu. I can feel it. The wind grew heavier, cold against their faces. Kovu looked at the gathering clouds. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together. We always have." She smiled faintly. "That's what I fear. That destiny might not give us that choice." Before either could speak again, a flash of lightning tore through the sky, blinding white against the dark. Thunder followed, deep and violent, echoing across the plains. The jungle animals grew restless. Monkeys screamed from the treetops. Elephants trumpeted in warning. The air was alive with the smell of rain and fear. By nightfall, the pride gathered beneath Pride Rock. The wind howled through the savannah like a wild spirit set free. Simba stood tall before his pride, his voice calm but heavy with knowing. "My family," he began, "the storm ahead is more than thunder and rain. It will test the ground we walk on, and the bonds that hold us together." Rain fell in soft drops. Then harder, faster, each drop bursting on the stone like a heartbeat of the storm. Kiara pressed against Kovu's side as thunder cracked above them. Lightning struck the valley, and the dry grass caught fire. Within moments, the storm turned to chaos. Kovu roared, calling the cubs. "Stay close." They ran through the darkness, guiding the young ones toward the cave. Branches snapped, trees fell, and the air was thick with smoke. Kiara's paws burned as she leaped over embers. Her lungs ached, but she didn't stop. Then, a deafening crash. A giant tree struck the ground between them, flames bursting into the air. "Kovu," she cried, her voice trembling through the storm. "I'm here." His roar came faintly through the smoke. She could barely see his silhouette, powerful, determined, but trapped on the other side of fire. "Kovu, the cubs. Take them and go." Tears blurred her sight. "I won't leave you," he roared again, fierce and desperate. "Kiara, if destiny dares to separate us, let it try." And with one mighty leap, he broke through the flames, his fur singed, his eyes glowing with raw courage. The fire parted for a heartbeat as he reached her. When he landed beside her, they locked eyes, wild hearts in perfect rhythm. Without another word, they ran together, side by side, through the smoke and the rain. The world behind them burned, but ahead light. The rain began to pour, heavy and cold, smothering the fire's fury. The earth hissed, and silence slowly returned. They collapsed beneath an ancient tree, breathing hard, the cubs safe behind them. Kiara looked at him, his mane soaked, his body trembling with exhaustion, and she smiled through tears. "You came back," she whispered. "Always," he said softly. The storm could never change that. As dawn broke, the Pride Land shimmered under a new light. The storm had passed, leaving the world washed clean. The river flowed again, stronger than before, and the land seemed reborn. Simba approached them, his eyes filled with pride. "You faced the heart of nature and stood together. The land remembers the brave." Kovu bowed his head. "We only did what love demanded." Kiara's gaze lifted to the sky where clouds broke apart, revealing a soft glow of sunlight. "Maybe the storm wasn't meant to destroy us," she said quietly. "Maybe it was meant to remind us that love, when true, can't be taken by fate." The cubs ran to them, laughing, splashing in the puddles left by the rain. Life returned slowly, beautifully. That night, as the stars awakened above the Pride Lands, Kiara and Kovu lay side by side. The sky glowed with millions of lights, whispering the songs of their ancestors. Kiara rested her head on his shoulder. "Do you think the stars ever get tired of watching us?" Kovu smiled. "Maybe they watch because our story reminds them that even in the wildest storm, love is the only thing that never fades." The wind carried their laughter through the valley, a soft promise that no storm could ever break. And as the night deepened, two hearts beat as one under the eternal sky. Kiara and Kovu Part 8. The echo of the ancestors. The dawn broke with a crimson hue, not of peace, but of warning. The roar's power had awakened something far greater than Kiara or Rocker could understand. Across the Pride Lands, the wind carried whispers, voices of kings long gone, echoing from the stars. The circle of life trembled. Rafiki stood atop Pride Rock, his staff glowing faintly with blue fire. He looked to the sky and murmured, "The ancestors are speaking, but their words are heavy with sorrow." Below, Kiara trained restlessly, unleashing bursts of energy that shook the ground. Her roar had grown stronger, too strong. When she roared, the clouds obeyed. The earth answered, but, with every use, she felt something slipping, as if the power was taking more than it gave. Kovu approached her, his golden eyes filled with concern. "Kiara, you're losing control. You don't have to carry this alone." She looked away, her chest heaving. "The roar won't rest, Kovu. It keeps calling to him, to the past. I can't silence it." Beyond the Pride Lands, Rocker stood before an ancient monument carved by time, the throne of the first king. He placed his paw on the stone, and visions flashed before his eyes. The first roar, the rise and fall of kings, the moment when power was taken from him. Tears burned his old eyes. "I only wanted to protect the legacy," he whispered. "But destiny chose another." Then, the wind shifted, the faint echo of Kiara's roar reached him, pulling his soul toward the Pride Lands once more. That night, a great storm swept across the savannah. Thunder rolled like drums of war. Lightning struck the ancient trees, lighting up the valley. In the heart of the storm, the spirits of the ancestors appeared, lions made of light and flame, circling above Pride Rock. Simba's voice echoed among them. "Kiara, Rocker, the roar was never meant to divide. It was born to unite." Kiara bowed her head. "Then why does it feel like it's tearing us apart?" "Because both your hearts cling to what was said, instead of what must be." From the darkness, Rocker appeared once more, his mane wet, his gaze fierce but sorrowful. The pride gathered around, tense, silent. "The time for fighting is over," Rocker said. "The roar belongs to neither of us. It belongs to the circle." But before peace could settle, a shadow moved between the lightning. A new roar tore through the night, darker and more furious than either of theirs. Rafiki gasped. "No, that voice, it's not of this world." From the storm emerged a spectral lion, the corrupted echo of Scar, born from the hatred that still lingered in the land. His mane shimmered like smoke, his eyes burning green. "You speak of balance," the phantom sneered, "but balance is a lie. Power belongs to those who seize it." Kiara stood firm. "You're not real. You're just the shadow of a past that's gone." Scar's echo laughed, a chilling hollow sound. "Gone. I am the price of every roar, the darkness that follows every king." He lunged, his spectral claws tearing the air. Kovu leaped before Kiara, blocking the strike, his roar merging with hers in perfect harmony. The collision of light and shadow shook the heavens, lightning exploded, and the spirits roared from the skies, their voices blending into one final command: "Restore the circle." Rocker stepped forward, his body trembling, his voice soft but resolute. "Then let it be through me." He turned toward the storm, channeling the last of his life into the earth. His roar echoed through the mountains, pure, sorrowful, and filled with redemption. The phantom of Scar screamed as the light consumed him, his voice fading into nothing. When the storm cleared, only silence remained. Rocker lay still beneath the rain, a faint smile on his muzzle. Kiara bowed beside him, tears glimmering in her eyes. "You found peace at last," Rafiki whispered. "He returned what was lost, so that life could begin again." As dawn returned, the Pride Lands glowed with new light. Grass grew where ash had fallen. The roar no longer burned within Kiara. It flowed gently, balanced, calm. Kovu pressed his head against hers. It's over, Kiara. She smiled softly. No, it's just beginning. Above them, the spirits of the kings shimmered in the morning sky. Simba's voice echoed one last time. The roar of the ancestors will live on, not in power, but in the hearts of those who protect the circle. The wind carried their laughter across the plains, and the legacy of the lost king finally found its peace. Kiara and Kovu Part 9. Shadows of the Forgotten Pride. The Pride lands were silent under a silver moon. The events of Rocca's arrival still echoed through every heart, yet life had returned to a fragile rhythm. Cubs played near the riverbanks, while Kiara and Kovu stood on the cliff's edge, watching the wind sweep through the golden grass. Kovu. The roar is stronger than ever, Kiara murmured, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. But I sense something else. A shadow moving beyond our borders. Kovu's ears twitched. The circle warned us of balance, but this feels like a danger from the past, one we haven't faced yet. Far to the north, beyond the mountains, a hidden valley stirred. A pride long forgotten, scarred by the battles of old and consumed by whispers of revenge, watched the lands they had once ruled. At their head, a lion with a dark mane and amber eyes that burned like fire surveyed the lands below. I am Tanu, he said to his pride, his voice low and menacing. The roar belongs to us. The circle stole it, and now we reclaim what is ours. Bag. At Pride Rock, Rafiki's vision clouded with worry. The spirits whisper of a shadow long buried, and soon it will awaken. Kiara pressed closer to Kovu. We thought the roar would protect us, but power alone cannot save the circle from those who refuse to forget. Lightning flashed over the distant mountains, illuminating the silhouette of Tanu's pride. Cubs froze in the grass, sensing the tension. The elders murmured prayers to the winds, calling on the guidance of ancestors past. Whatever comes, Kovu said, placing his paw on Kiara's, we will face it together. Our bond, our roar, will protect the pride. As the night deepened, the winds carried a chilling howl across the plains. Kiara's heart tightened. The roar pulsed within her, not just as power, but as a warning. A battle was coming, one that would decide not only the fate of the Pride lands, but the very legacy of the Circle of the Sun. And in the shadows, Tanu waited patiently, his pride's eyes glowing, ready to step from legend into reality. The dawn would not bring peace, it would bring war. Kiara and Kovu Part 10. The war of the two roars. The dawn came, but not with peace. The Pride lands, once golden and alive, now stood beneath skies of ash and fire. The roar of the ancestors had been awakened, and its echoes carried more than just memory. They carried judgment. For days, the wind had been uneasy. It howled through the canyons, whispering the same name again and again. Tanu, the forgotten prince, the one who believed the circle had betrayed him. High atop Pride Rock, Kiara stood beside Kovu, her eyes locked on the horizon. A dark line of dust stretched far into the distance. An army. They're coming, Kiara whispered. So, it begins, Kovu replied, his voice steady but grim. The war we hoped would never come. Below them, the pride had gathered, young and old. Mothers and warriors, hearts heavy with both fear and courage. The sky above shimmered with distant thunder, though no rain had yet fallen. From behind them, Rafiki appeared, leaning on his ancient staff. His eyes glowed faintly blue. The circle trembles. My children, two roars, now walk the same earth. When they meet, only one truth shall remain. Kiara lowered her head. If this is destiny, then I'll face it, not for power, but for peace. Rafiki placed his trembling hand upon her shoulder. The roar chose you because your heart listens. Do not let anger silence it. Far beyond the valley, Tanu and his pride marched through the red dust of the outlet. Hair's mane, dark as twilight, caught the last flicker of dying sunlight. Behind him, hundreds of lions, scarred, starved, and burning with vengeance, followed his every step. For generations, we were left to rot beyond the borders, Tanu growled. While they sang of kings and glory, we starved in silence. No more. A younger lion beside him, his son Naro, looked uneasy. Father, are we sure this is the way? The circle forgot us. Tanu snarled, and now we will remind it who we are. He lifted his head, eyes flashing gold. When the roar was taken, the blood of the first kings cried out. And I, their descendant, shall reclaim what was lost. Fear shimmered, and lightning split the heavens. The ancestors stirred. That night, under a blood-red moon, silence fell across the Pride Lands. The wind carried the scent of dust, fear, and destiny. Kovu sat alone near the edge of the cliff, sharpening his claws against the stone. His reflection trembled in a puddle of rainwater. I promised Simba I'd protect this land, he whispered, but how do you protect peace? When war refuses to listen, Kiara approached quietly, pressing her head against his. We'll face this together, Kovu, like we always have. If something happens to me, Kovu began. Don't, Kiara interrupted softly. The roar doesn't choose cowards. It chose us for a reason. They stood together in silence as thunder rolled across the savannah. Far away, Tanu's pride lit fires in the night, flames painting the horizon crimson. At dawn, the first roar echoed. It came from the east, deep, ancient, and filled with fury. The ground trembled beneath its weight. The battle for the Pride Lands had begun. Lions collided across the plains, claws flashing, roars shaking the air. Dust rose like smoke, and the sun vanished behind the storm of battle. Kovu led the front lines, his movements fierce yet focused. Every strike, every roar carried the legacy of Simba, the heart of a true protector. Meanwhile, Kiara stood upon a rocky ridge, her mane blazing in the wind. She closed her eyes and felt the roar of the elders burning within her chest. Kiara, Rafiki shouted from below. Remember what you fight for, not vengeance, but balance. Kiara drew in a deep breath. Her chest glowed with golden energy, and when she roared, the sound shook the heavens. The clouds swirled, lightning cracked, and rain finally poured across the land. Through the storm, Tanu appeared, eyes glowing, body scarred, his mane dripping with rain. His roar answered hers, colliding in the air like thunder upon thunder. You stole the power that was ours, Tanu bellowed. The roar belongs to no one, Kiara replied. It belongs to the circle. The energy between them exploded, waves of gold and crimson rippling through the plains. Trees bent, rivers surged, and even the stars seemed to flicker. From the sky, ghostly figures appeared, Mufasa, Simba, Rocca, and countless kings before them, watching as the fate of the roar unfolded. Slowly, only truth can silence the storm. Mufasa's voice echoed through the clouds. Kiara roared again, not in anger, but in harmony. Her voice joined the rhythm of the wind, the pulse of the earth, and the heartbeat of every living thing around her. But Tanu, blinded by grief, unleashed all his power. His roar cracked the land open, sending shockwaves across the savannah. As the world seemed to crumble, Kovu leapt in front of Kiara, his roar joining hers. Their voices became one, not of domination, but of unity. And for the first time in generations, the roar did not divide, it healed. A blinding golden light surged from the ground, rising into the heavens. The spirits of the ancestors roared in return, a harmony so powerful that even Tanu's rage began to fade. When the storm finally quieted, silence spread across the Pride Lands. Tanu lay weak, his eyes filled with tears. The roared, it remembers love. Kiara stepped forward, her eyes full of compassion, and it forgives. She touched his paw, and a warm glow spread between them, the circle's final blessing. Days later, the Pride Lands began to heal. Grass grew where ashes had fallen. Rivers flowed pure once again. Rafiki stood before Pride Rock, raising his staff high. The circle roared and chose peace. Kiara and Kovu stood side by side, their cubs playing near their paws. They looked toward the horizon, not with fear, but with hope. We faced destiny, Kovu said, and this time Kiara smiled. We changed it. As the sun rose high over the land, the roar echoed once more, not as a weapon, but as a song of unity. And far above, among the clouds, the ancestors smiled, for the circle of life had been reborn. The wind whispered softly through the grass, and so ended the war of the two roars. But every ending is only another beginning in the circle of life. Kiara and Kovu Part 11. the dawn of unity, the sky above the Pride Lands burned crimson, heavy with the smoke of battle. The echoes of roars still trembled through the valleys, but the Great War had ended. Silence fell, the kind that follows loss, and the promise of change. Kiara stood upon the ridge of Pride Rock, her fur marked with dust and scars. Below her, the once divided prides now gathered together. The sun broke through the clouds, bathing the land in a light that felt different. New Kovu limped toward her, his eyes tired but full of pride. "It's over," he said softly. "The war of the two realms is done." Kiara looked toward the horizon, where the last flames died among the savanna grass. "No," she whispered. "It's not over. Not until the wounds in our hearts heal." From the shadows, Rafiki appeared, leaning on his staff. The wise old mandrel's face was solemn, yet his eyes gleamed with hope. "The ancestors roar again," he said. "They see what you have done, and they are proud." Kovu bowed his head. "Many were lost." "Yes," Rafiki nodded. "But from loss comes learning. The circle does not end, young king. It renews." As he spoke, a faint golden glow shimmered above the clouds. The spirits of the past, Simba, Nala, and even Mufasa appeared in the sky, watching silently. Simba's voice carried through the wind. "You have done what we could not. My children, you have united what time had divided." Kiara closed her eyes, her heart swelling with emotion. "Father, the roar nearly destroyed everything. I feared it more than I used it." Simba's spirit smiled. "Power is not meant to destroy or control. It is meant to guide. And you, my daughter, have learned that truth." Kovu stepped beside her. "What now? What becomes of the Pride Lands?" Before anyone could answer, a young cub stepped forward from the crowd. A cub with Kovu's eyes and Kiara's golden fur. The little one gazed up at them, full of curiosity and courage. "The future," Rafiki said quietly, smiling. "The circle continues." Kiara bent down, nuzzling the cub gently. "You will know a world where lions don't fight to rule, but to protect." Kovu placed his paw over hers. "Then let that be our legacy." As dawn broke fully, the Pride Lands came alive once more. The rivers ran clear. Herds returned, and the echoes of battle faded into songs of unity. That night, under the stars, Kiara and Kovu lay together beneath the great tree. Listening to the whispers of the wind, the voices of ancestors now at peace, Rafiki watched from afar, smiling as he traced a new symbol on the stone, two lions facing each other, joined by a single circle. "The circle is whole again," he murmured, "and the dawn has begun." Tay. The camera rises slowly toward the heavens, where the stars shimmer brighter than ever, one glowing gold, another deep green, side by side. The legacy of Kiara and Kovu would be told for generations. A tale not of war, but of unity, love, and the roar that healed the world. Kiara and Kovu Part 8. The echo of the ancestors, the dawn broke with a crimson hue, not of peace, but of warning. The roar's power had awakened something far greater than Kiara or Rocco could understand. Across the Pride Lands, the wind carried whispers, voices of kings long gone, echoing from the stars. The circle of life trembled. Rafiki stood atop Pride Rock, his staff glowing faintly with blue fire. He looked to the sky and murmured, "The ancestors are speaking, but their words are heavy with sorrow." Below, Kiara trained restlessly, unleashing bursts of energy that shook the ground. Her roar had grown stronger, too strong. When she roared, the clouds obeyed. The earth answered, but, with every use, she felt something slipping, as if the power was taking more than it gave. Kovu approached her, his golden eyes filled with concern. "Kiara, you're losing control. You don't have to carry this alone." She looked away, her chest heaving. "The roar won't rest, Kovu. It keeps calling to him, to the past. I can't silence it." Beyond the Pride Lands, Rocco stood before an ancient monument carved by time, the throne of the first king. He placed his paw on the stone, and visions flashed before his eyes. The first roar, the rise and fall of kings, the moment when power was taken from him. Tears burned his old eyes. "I only wanted to protect the legacy," he whispered. "But destiny chose another." Then, the wind shifted, the faint echo of Kiara's roar reached him. pulling his soul toward the Pride Lands once more. That night, a great storm swept across the savannah. Thunder rolled like drums of war. Lightning struck the ancient trees, lighting up the valley. In the heart of the storm, the spirits of the ancestors appeared, lions made of light and flame, circling above Pride Rock. Simba's voice echoed among them. Kiara, Rocker, the roar was never meant to divide. It was born to unite. Kiara bowed her head. Then why does it feel like it's tearing us apart? Because both your hearts cling to what was said, instead of what must be. From the darkness, Rocker appeared once more, his mane wet, his gaze fierce but sorrowful. The pride gathered around, tense, silent. The time for fighting is over, Rocker said. The roar belongs to neither of us. It belongs to the circle. But before peace could settle, a shadow moved between the lightning. A new roar tore through the night, darker and more furious than either of theirs. Rafiki gasped. No, that voice, it's not of this world. From the storm emerged a spectral lion, the corrupted echo of Scar, born from the hatred that still lingered in the land. His mane shimmered like smoke, his eyes burning green. You speak of balance, the phantom sneered, but balance is a lie. Power belongs to those who seize it. Kiara stood firm. You're not real. You're just the shadow of a past that's gone. Scar's echo laughed, a chilling hollow sound. Gone. I am the price of every roar, the darkness that follows every king. He lunged, his spectral claws tearing the air. Kovu leaped before Kiara, blocking the strike, his roar merging with hers in perfect harmony. The collision of light and shadow shook the heavens, lightning exploded, and the spirits roared from the skies, their voices blending into one final command. Restore the circle. Rocker stepped forward, his body trembling, his voice soft but resolute. Then let it be through me. He turned toward the storm, channeling the last of his life into the earth. His roar echoed through the mountains, pure, sorrowful, and filled with redemption. The phantom of Scar screamed as the light consumed him, his voice fading into nothing. When the storm cleared, only silence remained. Rocker lay still beneath the rain, a faint smile on his muzzle. Kiara bowed beside him, tears glimmering in her eyes. You found peace at last, Rafiki whispered. He returned what was lost, so that life could begin again. As dawn returned, the Pride Lands glowed with new light. Grass grew where ash had fallen. The roar no longer burned within Kiara. It flowed gently, balanced, calm. Kovu pressed his head against hers. It's over, Kiara. She smiled softly. No, it's just beginning. Above them, the spirits of the kings shimmered in the morning sky. Simba's voice echoed one last time. The roar of the ancestors will live on, not in power, but in the hearts of those who protect the circle. The wind carried their laughter across the plains, and the legacy of the lost king finally found its peace. The first light of dawn spilled across the Pride Lands, painting the savannah with gold and amber. The air was heavy with anticipation. The events of the past battles had left the land scarred, but hope still lingered. Kiara and Kovu stood at the edge of Pride Rock, watching the plains stretch endlessly beneath them. Their cubs played nearby, oblivious to the tensions lingering in the air, but Kiara knew that peace was fragile. Kovu nuzzled her shoulder gently. Do you feel it? He asked, his amber eyes scanning the horizon. The circle is restless. Something stirs beyond our lands. Kiara closed her eyes, sensing the energy of the Pride Land itself. I do, she murmured. The roar isn't just within me. It calls. It whispers of someone coming, someone old but powerful. From the eastern savannah, dust rose like a distant storm. The cubs froze mid-play, ears perked, sensing the change in the wind. A deep, resonant growl rolled across the plains, unlike anything Kiara or Kovu had heard before. It was old, ancient, and filled with both sorrow and authority. Kiara's heart clenched. It's him, the one connected to the roar of the ancestors. He has returned. Kovu's jaw tightened. Then we prepare. As always, we face this together. They called the pride, and even the elders gathered atop Pride Rock. Rafiki stepped forward, staff in hand, his eyes glowing with the wisdom of visions. "The one who comes is not an enemy to destroy," he said, voice grave. But he tests the heart of the circle. He tests the bond between the roar and those who protect it. Hours passed, the sun climbing high in the sky. Then, a figure appeared at the horizon, moving with the grace and authority of a king. His fur was streaked with grey, scars marking battles long past, and his eyes burned with the fire of memories centuries old. Kiara's fur bristled. "Rocker," she whispered. The old lion approached Pride Rock, his movements deliberate, commanding. He stopped at the base and gazed upward. "I have come for what belongs to the circle," he said, voice low but carrying across the plains. The roar must remember its true purpose. Kovu stepped forward, muscles tensed, standing protectively beside Kiara. "You've come far, but this land is under our protection. Whatever you seek, it won't be taken by force." Rocker tilted his head, studying the young lions. "I seek not war, but understanding. The roar belongs to the blood of the first kings. Yet it has chosen guardians. D's is not a challenge of claws or teeth, it is a test of heart." Kiara stepped forward, eyes locking with his. "Then we face your test. But know this, the circle does not bow to fear. The roar flows through me and Kovu alike. It is not yours alone, and it is not ours to wield selfishly." The wind swelled, carrying 1,000 voices, ancestors' spirits, and the whispers of every lion that had walked the land. Lightning crackled faintly across the horizon, though the sky was clear. Even the cubs felt the power, the vibrations in the earth beneath their paws. Rocker nodded slowly, a deep rumble escaping his throat, almost a purr. "You understand more than most. The circle is alive, and it judges, not strength, but intent. Let the roar guide your heart, and it will show you the way." For a moment, silence fell across Pride Rock. The sun's golden light caught the old lion's mane, highlighting streaks of silver and gold. He turned, his gaze sweeping across the plains. "Your unity, your bond. This is the strength of the pride. Remember it, protect it, Stu. Even when shadows rise, even when the world tests you. Let the roar remind you of who you are." Kiara exhaled, relief mingling with awe. She could feel the roar deep within, vibrating through every fiber of her being. Kovu's paw brushed hers gently, and together they lowered their heads in respect to the ancient lion. As Rucker disappeared back into the horizon, Rafiki spoke, his voice calm but powerful. "The circle endures because those who understand it endure. Today, you have honored the past and strengthened the future. The roar will always guide those who listen, who protect, who love." The cubs bounded forward, nuzzling their parents and pawing playfully at the dust. Kiara smiled, watching their laughter echo across the Pride lands. She turned to Kovu, amber eyes meeting hers. "Every day we fight not just for ourselves," she said softly, "but for the circle, for every life that depends on it." Kovu nudged her gently. "And as long as we stand together, no challenge ancient, new, or forgotten can break us." Above them, the sun climbed higher, casting a golden glow over the Pride lands. The wind whispered through the tall grass, carrying the echoes of the ancestors. The roar had spoken, the circle had remembered, and the bond between Kiara Kovu and their pride had never been stronger. And so, the pride endured undaunted, united and ever watchful, ready for whatever new stories the circle of life would bring. The Pride lands were calm, but an uneasy tension lingered in the air. The sun rose slowly over the golden hills, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper secrets of the past. Kiara stood atop Pride Rock, her amber eyes scanning the plains. Even after the battle with Rocker, the roar inside her pulsed with energy, restless, as if it were warning her of something yet to come. Kovu approached silently, his dark mane tousled by the morning breeze. His golden eyes held concern. "You can feel it too, can't you?" he asked. Kiara nodded. "The circle isn't at peace yet. There's something stirring beyond our borders. Something old, something waiting." Far to the east, beyond the golden Savannah, a shadow moved. A lone lion, massive and imposing, emerged from the ruins of the forgotten lands. His mane was streaked with ash and silver, his amber eyes glowing with intensity. This was Malik, a lion whose family had been lost centuries ago, driven out by the first kings. He had been watching, waiting, and now the roar called him forward. Back at Pride Rock, Rafiki's eyes closed in meditation. Circle is changing, he murmured to himself. The roar will test more than strength. It will test courage, loyalty, and hearts. Kiara paced the cliff's edge, her fur bristling. She could feel the energy emanating from Malik, vibrating in tune with her roar. This is different, she said softly to Kovu. Rocker came as a warning, but Malik, he's coming for something more. Something powerful. Kovu crouched beside her, muscles tense. Whatever he wants, we'll face it together. We've survived storms before. This one will be no different. As the sun reached its peak, dust clouds appeared on the horizon. Hundreds of lions advanced, their eyes hard and determined. But among them, Malik's presence dominated. Every roar, every movement seemed orchestrated, guided by centuries of anger and vengeance. Kiara's roar surged, filling the valley with trembling power. The ground shook, and the air hummed with energy. We have to protect the pride, she shouted. Every lion, every cub. The battle erupted with a roar. Lions clashed, paws striking the earth, claws catching fur and flesh. Cubs were guided to safety, while Kovu moved with precision, defending his pride. Kiara leapt into the fray, her roar surging outward like a pulse of pure force. But Malik moved differently. He was not just a fighter, he was a force of nature, his power almost as ancient as the roar itself. Every strike, every step, seemed to resonate with history, echoing through the circle. At the heart of the battle, Kiara confronted Malik. Dust swelled around them, sunlight slicing through the chaos. Why come here, Malik? She demanded. Why stir the pride after all this time? Malik's eyes burned. The circle is unbalanced, he growled. The roar is not yours alone. It belongs to the blood of every lion who came before you. You've awakened it. Now I have come to test if it is worthy. The two lions circled each other. Kovu stayed close, muscles ready, sensing the magnitude of the moment. Kiara, be careful. This isn't just about fighting, it's about control. About understanding the roar. The clash began. Earth trembled under their paws. The sky darkened as the roars collided. Sparks flew, dust erupted, and the valley became a storm of fur, claws, and power. Kiara unleashed the full force of her roar, but Malik countered, his strength matched by centuries of ancestral energy. Time seemed to slow. Lightning flashed across the horizon, echoing the intensity of their battle. Every lion in the pride felt the tremor, every heartbeat synchronized with the rhythm of the roar. Finally, Kiara found a moment. She focused not on strength, but on the circle itself, and the life it protected, and the love it held. The roar surged outward, not as a weapon, but as a shield, a force that connected all lions present. Malik staggered, his eyes wide with recognition. The roar, it's alive, he whispered. Kiara stepped forward, her voice calm but unwavering. The roar is not just mine, Malik. It belongs to the circle, to every lion who lives and breathes with it. It cannot be controlled, it can only guide. Malik bowed his head. Slowly, the tension dissipated. His pride halted, unsure how to respond to this power. Kiara's roar pulsed once more, filling the valley with warmth, strength, and unity. As the dust settled, the pride stood together, their bond stronger than ever. Cubs emerged from hiding, their laughter echoing across the plains. Rafiki approached, his staff tapping against the stone, a small smile on his face. You have done more than survive. You have proven the roar is not just strength. It is understanding, wisdom, and courage. Kiara pressed against Kovu, exhaustion and relief washing over her. The circle is safe. For now, but the roar will call again, and we must be ready. Kovu nodded, looking toward the horizon where the sun now cast golden light across the plains. Whatever comes, we will face it. Together, always. And as the sun dipped behind distant hills, the pride stood united. The roar echoing across generations, a reminder that strength alone was never enough. Only courage, wisdom and heart could protect the legacy of the circle. Kiara and Kovu Part 15. Rise of the New Roar. The sun rose over the Pride Lands with a brilliance that seemed almost divine. For the first time in many moons, the air carried no tension, only the soft harmony of life returning. The circle had healed, but deep within the earth, the spirits still stirred, whispering of what was yet to come. Kiara stood at the edge of Pride Rock, her mane swaying in the warm breeze. Below her, the pride moved peacefully. Cubs played, lions hunted, and the once broken lands had begun to bloom again. Yet in her heart, she knew the peace was not the end. It was the beginning of something greater. Behind her, Kovu approached quietly. "You're thinking about him again?" he said, his tone gentle. Kiara nodded. "About the cub. The roar chose him for a reason, but what reason?" Rafiki, who had been sitting near the ancient tree, struck his staff lightly on the stone. "The reason will reveal itself in time," he said. "Free roar, every soul, every dawn, they are all part of one song. And that song is still being written." Years had passed since Rocker's fall. The cub they had found, now named Amani, had grown strong and wise. His spirit burned with the same golden fire that once flowed through the ancestors. He trained under Kovu's watchful eye, learning to hunt, to protect, and to lead. Yet, his connection to the roar was different. It wasn't born of power, but of empathy. When Amani roared, the earth didn't tremble in fear, it sighed in peace. But one evening, as the sun bled crimson across the sky, Rafiki felt a disturbance. The wind carried strange whispers, voices of the forgotten spirits, long silenced by time. He climbed to the highest peak and saw dark clouds forming on the horizon. The balance was shifting again. That night, Amani dreamed of a place beyond the Pride Lands, a desert of endless bones and shadows. In the dream, he saw a lion unlike any he'd ever known, a ghostly figure with eyes like fire. It spoke his name, Amani. The roar lives within you. But beware, not all who hear it seek peace. Some wish to control its echo. He awoke with a start. Kiara and Kovu found him pacing under the stars, his eyes filled with confusion and fear. "I saw something," he said, a voice from the other side. Rafiki nodded solemnly. "The ancestors are speaking to you." The circle tests those it trusts most. The next morning, Kiara gathered the pride. "We must travel beyond the lands we know," she declared. "There is a storm growing in the outlands again, and this time, it calls for Amani." Their journey took them across roaring rivers and dry plains. Along the way, Amani began to feel the roar changing inside him, as if it were alive, guiding him, teaching him through the pulse of the earth. He'd sense when storms were coming, when danger approached, even when life was about to begin. The power of the roar had evolved. It no longer belonged to one lion, it belonged to the land itself. When they reached the border of the outlands, the ground was cracked and lifeless, but the air shimmered with energy. From the shadows emerged figures, lions from lost clans, rogues who had once served under Scar's memory. Their leader, a tall lioness with dark amber fur and piercing eyes, stepped forward. "I am Zuri," she said, "daughter of those the pride forgot. You carry the roar, young one, but you do not understand its pain." Amani met her gaze fearlessly. "The roar isn't pain, it's life," Zuri snarled softly. "Then let's see if life still remembers us." She roared, and to their shock, the sound echoed with the same ancient power. The roar responded to her. Kiara stepped protectively in front of Amani. "The roar doesn't choose those who seek vengeance," Zuri smirked. "And yet here I stand." Lightning split the sky as their roars clashed, one of light, one of darkness. The earth shook, and the ghosts of the past seemed to rise from the dust. Rafiki shouted above the wind, "The roar is testing its heirs. It demands unity, not war." Kovu lunged forward, stopping Zuri from striking Amani. But Kiara's voice cut through the storm. "No," she roared, her voice merging with the power of generations. The thunder ceased, the ground calmed. Even Zuri stepped back, her eyes wide with awe. Kiara turned to her. "You are part of this circle too. The pain of the forgotten will not be healed with fury, only forgiveness." Zuri trembled, her anger breaking. "Then teach me," she whispered. As dawn broke, the storm faded. The lions stood together at the edge of the valley, old enemies now bound by something greater. Amani stepped forward and let out a roar that filled the skies. It was neither of war nor pride. It was the sound of balance restored. Rafiki raised his staff and smiled. "The new roar has risen," he said softly, "and with it, a new era begins." Kiara looked at Amani with pride. "The circle lives through you," she said. He smiled, the morning light shining in his golden eyes. "No," he said, "it lives through all of us." The wind carried his words far across the Pride lands, over rivers and hills, over every creature great and small. And as the sun climbed higher, the circle of life roared once more, reborn, eternal, and free. Part 16. Shadows of the lion who shouldn't exist. The sun had barely risen when the first tremors shook the ground. Amani, still standing at the edge of the outlands beside Zuri and the Pride, felt the vibration pulse through his pores like a heartbeat. But it wasn't his, it was something older. Something waking. Kiara stepped beside him. "You feel it too," she said softly. Amani nodded. "The roar isn't calm. Something's pulling at it." Zuri's ears flattened. "This land remembers pain. Whatever stirs beneath us. It's not a friend." Rafiki closed his eyes, lifting his staff as the wind curled around him. "The past has cracks, and through the cracks he paused. Old spirits slip out." Suddenly, a voice echoed from the canyon ahead, deep, echoing, impossible. Amani, the young lion, froze. He knew that voice. "That's him," he whispered. "The spirit I saw in my dream." Kovu moved in front of him instantly. "Stay behind us." But the voice returned, louder, shaking dust from the cliffs. Amani, heir of a power that was never meant to be gentle. A shape stepped from the swirling sand, a lion tall and skeletal, with silver scars glowing faintly across his ghostly form. His mane flowed like smoke, and his eyes burned with a cold blue light. Zuri gasped. "No, that's impossible." Amani's breath caught in his chest. "Who are you?" The spirit lion stepped closer, and the air grew colder around him. "I am Kiara," he said. The lion erased from the circle. Rafiki's eyes widened with horror. "No, you were a myth. A shadow." Kiara smiled. "A shadow is only a truth someone tried to hide." Kiara stepped forward, her muscles tensing. "Why show yourself now?" "Because the roar has changed," Kiara replied. "Because this cub carries something new. Something dangerous." His eyes fixed on Amani. "You were not chosen to bring peace. You were chosen to restore what was broken long ago." Amani felt the roar surge inside him, stronger than ever, almost painful. "What do you want from me?" Kiara tilted his head, studying him. "I want you to learn what the roar truly is, not the story passed down to kings, but the one they buried in fear." A crack of thunder split the sky, though no storm had formed. The earth trembled again, this time harder. Zuri looked around, panic rising. "The ground, it's opening." Indeed, fissures tore through the dusty plains, forming a spiraling pattern around Kiara. The earth seemed to bend inward, bowing to his presence. Kiara's voice lowered, almost gentle. "There is a place beneath these lands, a place where the first roar was born. You will come with me, Amani," Kovu snarled. "He's not going anywhere." Kiara did not even turn. "You cannot stop what the circle has already decided." A gust of wind exploded outward, sending every lion skidding back, except Amani. Amani stood frozen as the spirit approached. "Amani," Kiara whispered, "if you wish to protect your pride, your land, your future, you must know the truth." Amani swallowed hard, his voice shaking. "If I go with you, will they be safe?" "For now," Kiara said simply. Amani turned toward Kiara Kovu, Zuri, and Rafiki, all watching him with fear and helplessness. Kiara's voice broke as she stepped forward. "Amani, please." The young lion closed his eyes. "I'll come back," he promised. "I have to do this." And before anyone could stop him, Amani stepped into the fissure beside Kiara. The ground sealed shut behind them. The outlands fell silent. Zuri whispered, voice trembling. "What have we just awakened?" Rafiki stared at the cracked earth, his staff shaking in his hands. "A shadow," he said. "Not of a lion who lived, but of a lion who should never have lived." The wind howled across the barren land, carrying with it the faint echo of Amani's roar, fading deeper and deeper into the earth below. New journey had begun. A journey into the forgotten heart of the roar. Part 17. The heart of the forgotten roar. The outlands lay silent under a sky painted with streaks of crimson and violet. The aftermath of Amani's sudden disappearance lingering like a shadow over the land. Kiara, Kovu, Zuri and Rafiki stood at the edge of the fissure, their eyes scanning the ground that had swallowed the young cub whole. The wind carried a chill that wasn't natural, a warning from the earth itself. Kiara's voice trembled as she broke the silence. "Amani, he's gone." "But why would the circle allow this?" Rafiki stroked his beard, his eyes narrowing in thought. "The circle tests those it trusts. Child, not all who vanish are lost. Some must face the trials unseen to understand their power and their destiny." Kovu growled low in his throat, pacing. "I don't like it. The power of the roar, it's changing him already. If Kavoli is involved, nothing is safe. Not him, not the pride." From the shadows of the outlands, a soft rumble echoed through the rocks. Zuri's ears flattened. "That's not Amani. That's something else." Suddenly, the fissure widened, and a soft golden light spilled upward, illuminating a narrow path that spiraled downward into the depths of the earth. The four lions stared in disbelief. The path seemed alive, pulsing with energy, almost calling to them. Kiara stepped forward instinctively, paw hovering over the edge. "We can't follow him blindly," she said, voice strong yet cautious. "But we can't let him face this alone either." Rafiki raised his staff. "The circle has chosen him, but the circle also watches those who walk with the chosen. We go, but carefully. The forgotten heart awaits, and it remembers everything." The journey into the fissure was treacherous. The walls of rock seemed to breathe, shifting subtly as if alive. Strange whispers, like echoes of 1,000 voices, floated through the cavern. They spoke in riddles, warnings, and promises of power. Each step deeper tightened the bond between Kiara and Kovu, their courage relying on one another. Deep below the surface, Amani walked beside Kavoli. The spirit's presence was overwhelming, but not entirely hostile. Two's icy blue eyes pierced through the darkness, observing the cub's every move. "Do you understand the weight you carry, Amani?" Kivili's voice resonated through the cavern like a low earthquake. I think so," Amani replied, though uncertainty lingered in his amber eyes. "The roar, it isn't just power, it's responsibility, balance, life itself." Kivili's ghostly form nodded. "Good. But now you must confront what was buried before the first roar. You must face the shadow of regret, the echo of those who never belonged, and the pain they left behind. Only then will the roar be complete." Back above ground, Kiara, Kovu and Zuri reached the edge of the inner chasm, too. The light below was mesmerizing, pulling at their instincts. But something told them the path was not meant for all. Kovu's eyes met Kiara's. "We'll find a way to bring him back," he whispered. "He's our cub, our family. The roar chose him for a reason, and we'll follow him to the end." Inside the depths, Amani reached a colossal chamber carved from the heart of the earth itself. Ancient bones of lions long forgotten lay scattered, etched with glowing runes. The shadows twisted unnaturally, forming shapes that whispered and jeered. And at the center, a massive spectral lion, darker than night and brighter than fire, emerged. "I am Umbra," it said, voice echoing like 1,000 storms. "I am the roar that was silenced, the power denied, the heart that the circle forgot." Mani's heart raced, claws digging into the stone beneath him. I am Amani. I carry the new roar." Umbra laughed, a sound that made the very walls tremble. "New, you are nothing without understanding. You must face the truth of the forgotten, or the roar will consume you as it has consumed all who came before." Amani's chest swelled with determination. The roar inside him pulsed, responding to his fear, his courage, and his compassion. He stepped forward. "I will not be consumed." I will carry the roar, not for power, not for fear, but for life, for the circle, for my pride, and for everyone who cannot roar for themselves. A golden light exploded from him, filling the chamber. The shadows recoiled. Umbra's form faltered and Kiara stepped forward, placing a ghostly paw on Amani's shoulder. You are ready. But the trial is not yet complete. The forgotten roar demands not just courage, but understanding of pain, of loss, and of what it means to truly lead. The echoes of the chamber shifted. Whispers of ancient lions rose, surrounding Amani in a sphere of light and shadow. He understood then. The roar was not a weapon, nor a crown. It was memory. It was life. It was the pulse of every lion who came before him. As the chamber quieted, Amani looked to Kiara. I am ready. And with that, the next chapter of the roar began, a journey into forgotten history, into the heart of the circle itself, and into a legacy that would redefine the Pride lands forever. The light above trembled, signaling to Kiara, Kovu, and Zira. Their cub was not lost. He was becoming the true roar, stronger than anyone could imagine. The circle was alive, and a new era was rising. Part 18. The trial of the first roar deep beneath the surface of the Outlands, where roots twisted like ancient veins and the air shimmered with forgotten power. Amani followed Kiara through a tunnel carved by time itself. The walls pulsed faintly with golden cracks, as if the roar's heartbeat echoed through the stone. Amana's steps were steady, but his mind raced. The shadows whispered around him, old voices, broken voices, voices begging to be remembered. The air grew colder, thicker, almost alive. Kiara's icy blue glow cut through the darkness. Your courage brings you far, he said without turning. But courage alone will not save you now. Amani swallowed. What awaits me? Truth, Kiara replied, and truth is the one thing even kings fear. Today, as they reached the end of the tunnel, the cavern opened into a colossal chamber. This one was different, alive with swirling lights, ancient carvings of lions stretching from floor to ceiling. The air buzzed with invisible tension, like the moment before lightning strikes. At the center stood a massive stone platform, shaped like a lion's paw. Kiara motioned for Amani to step forward. This is where the first roar was born. Amani blinked. The first roar. Before the kings. Before the circle. Kiara nodded slowly. Long before your ancestors. Long before Scar. Long before the Lion Guard. There was a lion whose roar split the world between life and shadow. The chamber trembled. Umbra, Amani whispered. No, Kiara said. Umbra was only the guardian of what remained. The true origin lies deeper still. Suddenly, the stone beneath Amani glowed bright gold. A voice thundered through the cavern, ancient, commanding, filled with unimaginable power. Who dares enter the heart of the first roar? Amani stood tall. I am Amani. I carry the new roar. A deep rumble echoed, almost a growl. A new roar. Foolish cub. Power without memory is destruction. A pillar of light shot upward, forming the shape of a huge lion made entirely of energy. His mane flowed like fire, his eyes like burning suns. I am Makata, the voice said. The first to roar, the one who shattered silence. Amani's breath caught. He wasn't just facing a spirit. He was facing the origin of everything. Makata's gaze pierced him. You come seeking answers. But answers demand sacrifice. Amani stepped forward, chest rising. I'm ready. We shall see. In an instant, the world shifted. The chamber vanished by a vast savannah made of swirling shadows and glowing memories. A storm of images thundered around Amani. Wars of ancient lions, forgotten kings, betrayals that cracked the earth, spirits lost between life and death. Amani stumbled. What is this? Like the memory of all roars, Makata's voice boomed. The weight every true leader must carry. The visions grew stronger. A young lion banished by his pride. A mother crying over her fallen cub. A king roaring alone, knowing his time had ended. The roar being misused, twisted, feared. Amani felt their pain crash into him like waves. His legs trembled. His breath faltered. The roar inside him flickered like a dying flame. Kiara's voice whispered from the darkness. This is the shadow of regret. the test that has broken many before you. Amani collapsed to his knees. The pain wasn't physical, it was the pain of thousands of lions across time. All carried at once, he clenched his teeth. I can't. This hurts too much. A gentle voice suddenly whispered behind him. Warm, familiar. Amani breathed. He turned. Kiara's outline appeared, shimmering like a dream. Kovu beside her. Zuri Rafiki, his pride. They were not really there, just echoes of his heart. But their presence steadied him. Kiara's voice soothed the storm. You carry us, and we carry you. Zuri smirked. So don't quit now. Little brother Kovu nodded firmly. You are stronger than your fear. Amani rose slowly, muscles shaking but spirit unbroken. He roared not with power, not with rage, but with love, with memory, with the voices of everyone who believed in him. The shadow of regret shattered into light. Part 20. The lion who stood between two worlds. The golden doorway behind Amani hummed with ancient power, its symbols shifting like living fire. The roar inside his chest pulsed in response, urging him onward. Kivali floated beside him, silent but watchful, as the young lion stepped into the chamber of the first kings. Padeepa. Amani moved. The more the air changed, thicker, warmer, vibrating with memories older than the Pride Lands themselves. Murals carved into the stone showed lions surrounded by swirling energy, their roars shaping mountains, rivers, storms. Amani's eyes widened. These weren't just kings, they were creators. Kivali nodded with a slow, heavy movement. The roar was once the breath of the world until lions forgot. Amana's ears twitched as a new sound echoed through the chamber. A heartbeat, deep, rhythmic, ancient. They followed it until the passage opened into a grand circular hall, illuminated by floating orbs of golden light. At its center stood a stone pedestal, and atop it lay a crown made not of metal, but of condensed raw energy swirling with blue and gold fire. Amani whispered, "Is that?" The crown of echoes, Kivali said, created by the first kings. It can amplify the roar, destroy it. Before Amani could respond, a shadowy ripple swept across the chamber like a cold breeze. Kivali froze. No, he should not be here. From the darkness, a figure materialized taller than any lion, its body forged from fractured shadows and glowing cracks of blue fire. Umbra, but this time, he wasn't alone. Behind him rose multiple shadow lions, the forgotten and banished echoes of roars past. Their eyes were hollow, their steps silent. Umbra's voice thundered through the hall. So, the cub survives the trial of the first roar. Impressive, but useless. Amani stood tall, heart pounding, but voice steady. I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to understand the roar. Umbra's laugh shook the chamber. Understanding. The kings never sought understanding. They sought control. They erased us. They hid us in darkness. They shaped the world in their image, while we were left to rot. Kivali stepped in front of Amani. You were cast out because you sought to twist the roar, to break the circle. Umbra's glowing cracks flared with fury. I sought freedom, but now I will take what was denied. His eyes locked onto the crown of echoes. Amani moved instinctively, blocking his path. You can't take it. That crown belongs to the circle. Umbra lowered his head. The circle is dead. But you are alive. And that is why you will give me what I want. Suddenly, the ground shattered beneath Amani's paws. A shockwave of shadows surged outward, engulfing the chamber. Amani was thrown back, crashing into the stone, his vision blurred. He heard echoes faint, distant. Kiara's voice, Amani, get up. Kovu's voice, fight. Son Zuri's whisper, you're not alone. Amani's eyes snapped open, glowing gold. He rose slowly. Umbra snarled, you dare stand against me? Amani exhaled, the roar vibrating through his bones. I stand for what the roar was meant to be. Not power, not fear, but life. The chamber trembled. Umbra lunged. Amani roared. But something unexpected happened. Instead of attacking, the roar burst from Amani in a sphere of golden light, expanding outward like a sunrise. It didn't strike Umbra, it revealed him. The shadows peeled away, showing scars, loneliness, And the truth Umbra never spoke. He wasn't born evil, he was born forgotten. Umbra staggered. What did you do? Amani's voice softened. I saw your pain. And now the roar sees it too. Umbra's shadow lions dissolved into dust. The chamber quieted. For the first time, Umbra looked unsure. Kivali stepped forward slowly. This is why the roar chose him. Not for strength, but for heart. Umbra's body cracked, blue fire dimming. Is there a place for me in the circle? Amani nodded without hesitation. There's a place for anyone willing to stand in the light. A long silence followed. Umbra bowed his head. Amani approached the crown of echoes not to take it, but to understand it. The crown glowed, responding to his presence. Golden tendrils of energy wrapped around him gently, like the touch of ancient kings welcoming a new heir. Kivali whispered, You have begun a new era, Amani. The chamber lit with blinding gold, and above ground. Kiara, Kovu and Zuri felt the earth tremble not with danger, but with hope. The new roar had awakened, and the Pride lands were about to change forever. Part 21. The echo of the roar that time tried to bury the storm from the chamber of the first kings had passed, but its echo still trembled through the Pride lands. Kovu, Kiara and the young lion Kion walked in silence, each carrying the weight of what they had discovered. The first roar, the truth of the forgotten lineage, and the warning left behind by the ancient kings. When dawn rose, its light felt different, warmer, but tense, like the calm before a second storm. Kion stopped at the edge of a cliff, his mane brushing against the early wind. I felt something back there, he whispered. A presence. One that wasn't hostile, but wasn't peaceful either. Kiara moved closer. You mean the voice that spoke to you? Kion nodded. It wasn't one voice. It was many as if generations were speaking through a single breath. Kovu's expression darkened. If the ancient kings are trying to reach us, it means something far worse is coming. But before they could speak further, a tremor shook the ground beneath them. A low, rumbling growl rose from the distant shadows, deep, distorted, and impossibly old. A bird scattered from the trees. The earth cracked in thin lines, pulsing like veins. Kiara's heart raced. That sound, it came from the forbidden cliffs. Kion's eyes widened. That's where the first roar was said to have been born. The three lions ran, dust swirling behind them, free. When they arrived, the cliffs were trembling, glowing faintly with blue ancient markings. And then, a figure stepped out from the darkness. A lion tall, scarred, and surrounded by faint shimmering outlines like living echoes. His mane was streaked with ghostly light, and his eyes seemed to hold entire centuries. Kovu froze. No, that can't be, Kion whispered. He looks like one of the first kings. The ghostly lion's voice was layered, as if multiple lions were speaking through him. I am Azori, the last guardian of the first roar, and you have awakened me? Kiara swallowed hard. But why now? Why reveal yourself to us? Azari stepped forward, each paw print leaving behind a brief flicker of ancient runes. Because the roar has split. The balance is broken. The one who should not exist is rising again. Kion felt the same cold fear he had felt in the chamber. You mean him? The Phantom Lion. Azari nodded slowly. He was erased from history, but a shadow erase does not disappear. It waits, it feeds, and now it seeks a new vessel. Someone with a powerful roar. Kovu instinctively stepped between Kion and the spectral king. You will not touch him. Bazari shook his head. I do not seek to harm the boy. I seek to warn him. For the shadow has already chosen him. Kion gasped, chosen. Me. Wind whipped around him, his mane crackling faintly with golden sparks from the roar of the elders. Azari's voice dropped lower. The shadow wants what you carry. The roar of the elders and the roar of the forgotten lineage. Both live in you now. Kiara stepped forward, refusing to show fear. Then tell us how to stop this shadow. For the first time, the ancient lion's spectral form flickered uncertainly. To defeat him, you must travel to the place even the kings feared. The birthplace of the roar. The rift of origins. Kovu frowned. I've never heard of it. You were never meant to, Azari replied, lonely. Those destined to face the shadow ever come to know of it. Kian took a deep breath. Then I'll go. Kovu shook his head. No, we go. Together. Azari's eyes glowed brighter. Then prepare yourselves. What waits in the Rift of Origins is older than the Pride Lands, older than kings, older than the roar itself. The wind howled, carrying with it a faint, chilling whisper, one that sounded disturbingly familiar. A whisper like Scar, a whisper like the Phantom Lion, a whisper that promised darkness. Kion felt it crawling into his bones. And the first guardian spoke one final sentence before fading into the morning light. The shadow is coming for your roar. And for your heart. The Pride Lands fell silent. The next chapter of destiny had begun. Part 22. The shadow of the first renegade. The sky above the Pride Lands darkened unnaturally. Kiara stood firm, eyes locked on a floating spectral figure. Her mane bristled with tension. Every muscle in her body was ready. The spirit hovered above the savannah, radiating centuries of anger. Kovu growled low behind her. It's him, he whispered. The one the circle tried to erase. The spirit's voice rumbled like ancient thunder. You carry the roar, but do you understand its price? Kiara lifted her chin, steady and fierce. I carry more than the roar, she declared. I carry hope, the future, and memory. The spirit's shadow stretched across the ground. Dark, claw-like shapes extended toward them. The wind howled. Voices of forgotten lions whispered from the shadows. Kiara's eyes narrowed, listening. Their memories guide me, she murmured. The spirit advanced, faster than any living lion. Kiara leaped gracefully, landing with a soft thud. Her roar shattered the silence. It wasn't a roar of fear. It wasn't a roar of anger. It was a roar of life. Kovu's eyes widened. Zeri growled, standing by her side. The power of the circle flowed through Kiara, her roar, intertwined with the voices of her pride. The spectral figure recoiled slightly. Impossible, it hissed. You should not wield this power. Kiara stepped forward, glowing eyes blazing. I was chosen for a reason. The roar lives through all of us. The ground trembled under the spirit's fury. Shadows twisted violently around it. The spirit roared, a sound that cracked rocks. Kiara's roar countered it, golden and bright. The wind tore across the savannah. Trees bent under the force of energy. Dust and sand whirled in the air. Kovu stepped closer to Kiara, ready to defend. The spirit lunged again. Kiara's roar struck it like a tidal wave. Its shadow form faltered, wavering. Kiara's determination grew. We will not let you destroy our home, she shouted. The spirit hissed, showing massive dark teeth. Then come to me. If you truly deserve the roar. Silence fell over the savannah. Not a bird, not an insect, dared move. Kiara's heart raced, but she remained steady. She raised her head. Her pride's courage flowed through her veins. The spirit summoned waves of dark energy. Kiara's roar pushed back the shadows. Lightning crackled in the distance. A golden light appeared on the horizon. Amani emerged, his own roar booming. The ground vibrated under the power of two roars. Kiara felt a surge of energy through her body. The spectral figure staggered, confused. No, this cannot be it, hissed. Kiara and Amani roared in unison. The harmony of their voices pushed the darkness back. The shadows screamed, recoiling. The spirit's form twisted violently. Kovu and Zuri joined the roar, adding strength. The combined power illuminated the savannah. The spirit stumbled backward. Its form flickered. Impossible. It murmured, the roar cannot be contained. Kiara stepped forward, fearless. The circle endures. We endure. A final roar full of life, memory, and courage rang out. The spirit let out a scream of defeat. It shattered into a swirl of shadows and light. The savannah calmed. Dust settled on the ground. Kiara exhaled, chest heaving. Kovu, Zuri, and others approached slowly. Their eyes were wide with relief. Amani walked beside Kiara. The circle has chosen wisely, he said softly. But this is only the beginning. Kiara nodded, looking over the golden lit plains. The echoes of ancient roars carried in the wind. They They were reminders that the battle for balance wasn't over. The first renegade had been defeated. But the legacy of the circle promised new trials. Kiara and Amani stood together, unshaken. The roar of the circle lived on, and a new chapter had begun. Part 24. The roar that rewrote destiny. The sun rose over the Pride Lands, but its warmth did little to calm the tension that hung in the air. The events of the shadowed roar had left scars visible and invisible alike. Kiara, Kovu, and Zuri stood atop Pride Rock, their eyes scanning the horizon. The wind carried whispers of an ancient power awakening, a force even older than the circle itself. Far below, Amani moved through the forgotten valleys, guided by the spectral Kivali. Every step pulsed with golden light, the heartbeat of the roar echoing through the earth. Broken statues of past kings, ancient runes, and remnants of old battles bore silent witness to his journey. Suddenly, the sky darkened unnaturally. Shadows coiled and shifted among the trees, as though alive. A roar thundered from the distance, shaking the ground beneath Amani's paws. The shadowed roar was not just a legend, it was awakening. From the darkness emerged Umbakari, the first renegade, his form twisting shadows and fire. His eyes burned like molten gold, and each step scorched the earth. Dear thing, you can wield the roar. Umbakari's voice rumbled like an earthquake. Do you understand the weight it carries? Amana's amber eyes blazed. I do. I carry the roar, not for power, not for fear, but for life, for balance, for the circle. The two lions clashed. Light and shadow collided, sending shockwaves across the valley. Amani's roar intertwined with Umbakari's darkness, creating a storm of energy that twisted the very air. Visions of past kings, fallen cubs, and forgotten battles flashed through Amani's mind. Every choice, every sacrifice, every regret of the Pride Lands pressed against him. Kivali's voice echoed in his mind. Remember, Amani, the roar is not just strength, it is understanding. Feel the pain, but do not let it break you. Amana's roar grew louder, infused with the courage, love, and memories of those he protected. Light erupted from his chest, blinding and pure, pushing back Umbakari's shadows. The renegade faltered, his form flickering. You are stronger than I imagined, Umbakari growled, fading into the night. But the final trial awaits. As silence settled over the valley, Amani sank to his knees. Exhausted but resolute, Kivali appeared beside him. You have survived the shadowed roar, young one. But this is only the beginning. Greater trials await the lost voices of the first kings, and the secret the circle has kept for millennia. Above Kiara, Kovu and Zuri felt the echo of his victory. The Pride Lands had a protector, a roar stronger than any darkness. Yet, the horizon shimmered with unseen dangers, promising that Amani's journey was far from over. And somewhere deep within the earth, a new pulse stirred. A pulse that would challenge everything they thought they knew about the circle, the roar, and the legacy of the Pride Lands. The next chapter was coming, and it would shake the very foundations of the Savannah. Part 25. The Lost Voices of the First Kings. The sun dipped low over the Pride Lands, casting long shadows across the Savannah. Even the wind seemed hesitant, as if holding its breath. Amani stood at the edge of a cliff in the forgotten valleys. Golden light radiating from his chest, his rajido pulsing like the heartbeat of the land itself. The events of the shadowed roar had left him tested, but the true challenge was only beginning. Kivali hovered beside him, spectral eyes gleaming. The voices you seek are scattered across the realm, he said. Each one guards a piece of the first roar, and each is protected by trials that will test not just your strength, but your heart. Amani's amber eyes glinted with determination. I will face them all. I will not fail. The circle, the pride. They depend on me. The first path led deep into a dense forest where the air shimmered with ancient energy. Trees bent unnaturally, forming arches that seemed to whisper secrets. Shadows moved between them, testing Amani's courage. From the darkness, a whisper echoed, Only the worthy may pass. Show the courage to forgive, to remember, to carry the weight of all who came before. Amani stepped forward, each puffle glowing with golden light. Images of past kings and fallen cubs flickered around him, memories trapped in the forest itself. He roared not with anger, but with understanding, and the shadows recoiled. A path opened, revealing a hidden sanctuary carved into the rocks. Inside, the first voice awaited, a lion spirit formed of pure starlight. His mane shimmered like the night sky, and his eyes held the weight of countless lifetimes. I am Asante, the spirit spoke, the voice of memory. To claim me, you must remember not just victories, but every loss, every regret that shaped the Pride Lands. Amani knelt, closing his eyes, and let the memories wash over him. Friends lost, families torn apart, the sins of past leaders. He roared again, a sound filled with empathy and courage. The spirit nodded, merging with his golden light, strengthening the first note of the first roar within him. But there was no time to rest. Kivali's voice called from above. The next voice awaits in the sky sanctuary. Its trial will test your faith in the unseen. Amani leaped from the cliff, riding a current of golden wind, soaring across valleys and rivers. High above, the sky sanctuary shimmered like a cloud forged from pure light. Here, the second voice resided, the voice of spirit, ethereal and untouchable, visible only to those who could truly believe. 2. The trial was invisible. Shadows of doubt, fear, and past failures circled him, whispering, "You are unworthy. You cannot carry the roar of the first kings." Amani roared again, letting the memories of his pride, his friends, and his purpose anchor him. The shadows dissolved, and the voice of spirit merged with him, filling him with power that vibrated through his very soul. The final trial lay before him, the voice of the earth, buried deep within the heart of the savannah. Here, Amani faced challenges not of strength, but of understanding. The balance of life and death, predator and prey, the circle of life itself. Each step he took revealed lessons hidden in the roots, the soil, and the water. Every roar resonated with respect for all life, not just those who bore the mark of the pride. At last, the earth voice joined him, completing the 3 lost notes of the first roar. Amani's golden aura blazed brighter than the sun. He was no longer just a cub with a powerful roar. He had become a guardian, a unifier of the voices of the past, present, and future. The land itself seemed to hum in approval. Kivali hovered proudly. "You have done what no lion before you could. The first roar is complete, but its power brings responsibility. The shadowed roar will return, stronger than ever. You must be ready." Amani gazed across the Pride Lands. Rivers glimmered in the sunset. The trees swayed in silent approval, and the circle itself seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heart. "I am ready," he whispered. "Whatever comes, I will protect the pride, the circle, and the roar, always." And so, the journey of the lost voices of the first kings ended. For now, but a new era of the Pride Lands had begun, one that would challenge every lion to rise, to roar, and to stand between the shadows and the light. Part 26. The guardian of the roar and the primordial. The sun dipped low over the Pride Lands, casting long trembling shadows across the savannah. The air was thick, alive with tension, as if the land itself was holding its breath. Kiara stood atop the Pride Rock, her mane flowing in the wind, eyes fixed on the distant horizon. Kovu and Zuri flanked her, muscles taut, senses sharpened. The Pride watched silently. They knew peace had come at a cost, and now a deeper, older trial was approaching. Far below, Amani advanced through the forgotten valleys, guided by Kivali's spectral form. His golden roar pulsed through the earth with every step, weaving a heartbeat into the very land. Spoken statues of ancient kings, faded runes, and remnants of forgotten battles marked his path, whispering lessons of the past. Suddenly, the sky darkened unnaturally. Shadows twisted unnervingly through the trees, moving as if alive. From the depths of the valley came a roar, deep and resonant, shaking the ground beneath Amani's paws. The primordial darkness was stirring again, not defeated, only restrained, and now it tested the edges of its prison. Emerging from the shadows was Umbakari, the first renegade, his form a twisted blend of shadow and smoldering fire. His eyes blazed like molten gold, each step scorching the earth. "Do you believe you can command the roar?" Its voice thundered, shaking the valley. "Do you understand the weight it bears? Amana's amber eyes glimmered with resolve. I understand. I carry the roar not for power, not for fear, but for life, balance, and the circle. The clash began. Light and shadow collided, sending waves of energy across the valley. Amani's roar intertwined with Umbakari's darkness, creating a storm that bent the very air. Each choice, each sacrifice, each regret of the Pride Lands pressed upon him. Kivyali's voice echoed in his mind. Remember, Amani, the roar is not just strength, it is understanding. Feel the pain, but do not let it break you. Amani's roar intensified, infused with courage, love, and the memories of those he protected. A golden light burst from his chest, pushing back Umbakari's shadows. The renegade faltered, his form flickering. You are stronger than I imagined, Umbakari growled, dissolving into the night. But the final trial awaits. Amani fell to his knees, breathing hard but steady. Kivyali hovered beside him. You have survived the shadowed roar, Cub, but this is only the beginning. Greater trials await. The lost voices of the first kings and the secret the circle has guarded for millennia. Above Kiara, Kovu, and Zuri felt the echo of his victory. The Pride Lands had a protector now, a roar stronger than any darkness. Yet on the horizon, invisible dangers stirred, hinting that Amani's journey was far from over. Deep below the surface, a new pulse awakened, a heartbeat that would challenge everything they believed about the circle. The Roar and the Legacy of the Pride Lands. Part 26. The Guardian of the Roar and the Primordial the Sun dipped low over the Pride Lands, casting long, trembling shadows across the savannah. The air was thick, alive with tension, as if the land itself was holding its breath. Kiara stood atop the Pride Rock, her mane flowing in the wind, eyes fixed on the distant horizon. Kovu and Zuri flanked her, muscles taut, senses sharpened. The Pride watched silently. They knew peace had come at a cost, and now a deeper, older trial was approaching. Far below, Amani advanced through the forgotten valleys, guided by Kivyali's spectral form. A hiss. Golden roar pulsed through the earth with every step, weaving a heartbeat into the very land. Broken statues of ancient kings, faded runes, and remnants of forgotten battles marked his path, whispering lessons of the past. Suddenly, the sky darkened unnaturally. Shadows twisted unnervingly through the trees, moving as if alive. Full. From the depths of the valley came a roar, deep and resonant, shaking the ground beneath Amani's paws. The primordial darkness was stirring again, not defeated, only restrained, and now it tested the edges of its prison. Emerging from the shadows was Umbakari, the first renegade, his form a twisted blend of shadow and smoldering fire. His eyes blazed like molten gold, each step scorching the earth. Do you believe you can command the roar? His voice thundered, shaking the valley. Do you understand the weight it bears? Amani's amber eyes glimmered with resolve. I understand. I carry the roar not for power, not for fear, but for life, balance, and the circle. The clash began. Light and shadow collided, sending waves of energy across the valley. Amani's roar intertwined with Umbakari's darkness, creating a storm that bent the very air. Visions of fallen kings, lost cubs, and ancient battles raced through Amani's mind. Each choice, each sacrifice, each regret of the Pride Lands pressed upon him. Kivyali's voice echoed in his mind. Remember, Amani, the roar is not just strength, it is understanding. Feel the pain, but do not let it break you. Amani's roar intensified, infused with courage, love, and the memories of those he protected. A golden light burst from his chest, pushing back Umbakari's shadows. The renegade faltered, his form flickering. You are stronger than I imagined, Umbakari growled, dissolving into the night. But the final trial awaits. Amani fell to his knees, breathing hard but steady. Kivyali hovered beside him. You have survived the shadowed roar, Cub, but this is only the beginning. Greater trials await, the lost voices of the first kings, and the secret the circle has guarded for millennia. Above Kiara, Kovu, and Zuri felt the echo of his victory. The Pride Lands had a protector now, a roar stronger than any darkness. Jet. On the horizon, Invisible dangers stirred, hinting that Amani's journey was far from over. Deep below the surface, a new pulse awakened, a heartbeat that would challenge everything they believed about the circle, the roar, and the legacy of the Pride Lands. Part 27. The Awakening of the Forgotten Roar. The sun barely kissed the horizon, casting long golden shadows over the Pride Lands. The air was thick, almost vibrating, as if the earth itself held its breath. Kiara stood atop Pride Rock, her mane flowing in the wind, her eyes scanning the distant lands. Kovu and Zira flanked her, muscles tense, senses alert, ready for whatever might emerge. The Pride Lands were quiet, but the tension hummed through every tree, every blade of grass, as if the land itself knew a storm was approaching. Below, in the forgotten valleys, Amani moved steadily, guided by the ethereal form of Kiara. Each step glowed with the pulse of his golden roar, illuminating remnants of ancient battles, crumbling statues, overgrown ruins, and glowing runes left by the first kings. The land beneath his paws seemed to awaken with his presence, resonating with the rhythm of his heart. Suddenly, the wind shifted. A low, menacing growl rolled across the valleys, and shadows twisted unnaturally, crawling along the trees and rocks, as if alive. Amani's eyes narrowed. He could feel it, the first stirrings of a force the circle had never faced directly. From the depths of darkness, a massive lion emerged, larger and more terrifying than any he had ever seen. Day. Its fur shimmered like molten night, and its eyes burned with golden fire. This was the forgotten roar, primal echo of anger, sorrow, and power long unclaimed. "I am Ncro," the lion boomed, his voice shaking the ground beneath them. The roar of the lost, the anger of the forgotten. You carry the first roar, cub. But can you truly control what you awaken? Amani stepped forward, his own roar rising to meet the challenge. "I do not seek power for myself. I carry the roar to protect the circle, the pride, and all life," he declared, his voice steady despite the overwhelming presence before him. They collided. Shockwaves rolled across the valleys, sending leaves, dust, and golden sparks swirling into the air. Spree holiday. Every step Amani took caused the earth to hum, responding to the rhythm of his heart and the energy of the lost roar. Memories flashed before him, fallen kings, cubs who never grew, battles long forgotten. Each vision tested his spirit, challenging his courage, his compassion, and his understanding of the circle. Kiara's voice echoed in his mind. "Remember, Amani, the roar is not strength alone. It is wisdom, courage, and understanding. Feel it, but do not let it consume you." Amani let the golden light of the first roar spread from his chest, weaving into the shadows that surrounded Ncro. Memories, regret, and courage merged into a shimmering barrier of energy. Ncro faltered, eyes wide with shock and prepared for the unity of heart and power. "Impossible. You carry not just the roar, but the wisdom of the first kings," Ncro roared, shaking the valleys with his voice, a sound more sorrowful than angry. Above, Kiara Kovu and Zira watched from Pride Rock, feeling the energy pulse through every corner of the Pride Lands. Every leaf, every blade of grass leaned toward the battle, as if the land itself had chosen a side. Amani roared again, this time harmonizing the three voices of the first roar: memory, spirit, and earth. Waves of golden light erupted, encasing Ncro, who let out a cry that was more of sorrow than anger. Slowly, the dark lion's massive form shrank, collapsing into a river of golden embers absorbed by the earth. The valley fell quiet, trembling with residual power. Amani fell to his knees, exhausted yet triumphant, as Kiara hovered beside him. The forgotten roar is contained, but not destroyed. Your journey is far from over, cub. The circle has new challenges ahead, but your courage has lit a path. Kiara descended Pride Rock and approached Amani. "You've grown beyond anything we imagined," she said, her voice calm yet filled with awe. "The circle will survive because of what you've done." Amani stood, looking across the Pride Lands. Rivers sparkled in the sunset. Wind whispered through the trees, and the circle itself seemed to breathe once more. The land had been tested and it had endured, but deep beneath the earth, a new pulse stirred, a vibration older than the first roar. Something ancient and unseen by the circle was awakening. a force that would challenge everything Amani, Kiara, and the Pride thought they knew. The Pride lands stretched endlessly, golden light meeting creeping shadows. As Amani's roar echoed across the villas, a promise, a warning, a legacy, the journey continued. The first roar was whole, the Guardian stood ready, and the story was far from over. Amani's final roar rose into the night sky, harmonizing with the whispers of the land. The first roar was complete. The Pride was united, and the legacy endured. Part 28. The echoes beneath the earth, the sun dipped beneath the horizon, leaving the Pride lands glowing in amber twilight. Amani stood at the edge of the forgotten valleys, still feeling the echo of Ncor's fading roar vibrating through his chest. The earth was calm, but not silent. Something ancient stirred beneath it. A cool breeze brushed past him, carrying whispers that were neither wind nor spirit. Amani's ears twitched. Kivuli's spectral form flickered beside him, his expression sober. "You feel it, don't you?" Kivuli murmured. Amani nodded. "The land is calling, but this is different." Older Kivuli's eyes glowed faintly. "Older than the first roar. Older than the circle you know." What awakens now was buried for a reason. A ripple of unease ran through Amani, but he inhaled deeply, letting his roar's golden glow steady his heartbeat. He glanced toward Pride Rock, where distant silhouettes moved. Kiara's warning atop Pride Rock. Kiara stared into the valleys, her posture sharp, tail lashing lightly in concern. Kovu approached her side. "You feel it too," he said quietly. Kiara didn't look away from the horizon. Something beneath the land has awakened. Amani isn't facing this alone. But whatever this is, it's unlike anything the circle has ever taught us. Zuri climbed up behind them. "Should we go to him?" Kiara's jaw tightened. "Not yet. The Pride lands are tremoring. If we leave them now, we may return to ruins, too." Her eyes narrowed as a faint rumble vibrated through the rock beneath their paws. "We must prepare. Whatever rises will not stay in the valleys." The descent begins. Amani followed the whispers to a fissure in the valley floor. It wasn't there before. The battle with Nkiro must have cracked something open. The ground pulsed once, twice like a heartbeat. He stared into the blackness. This is where the call comes from." Kivuli drifted forward. "Below lies the oldest memory of the land. Not a king. Not a roar. Something the circle feared so deeply, they buried it in silence." Amani steeled himself. "Then that's where we go." He leaped into the fissure, sliding down a tunnel of stone that glowed with faint runic inscriptions. Yes. Pores sparked golden light with each touch. The deeper he descended, the heavier the air became, as if the earth itself pressed against him. The Chamber of Echoes, the tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber. Giant stone pillars twisted upward like ancient ribs, holding the world above. Runes pulsed across the walls, each one breathing faint light. Amani's eyes widened. "This place. It's alive," Kivuli hovered beside him. "This chamber holds every roar ever given. Every king, every battle, every triumph and sorrow. The roar remembers." A low hum filled the chamber, soft at first, then rising until the stone vibrated. Amani stepped carefully. "Is something down here?" "Yes," Kivuli whispered. The echo appears, the floor cracked. A wave of energy, neither light nor dark, pulsed upward, forming into a shifting, shimmering figure of mist and memory. It resembled a lion, but only barely. Its shape flickered like it was made of loose roars and broken breaths. Its voice was layered, countless lions speaking as one. Amani, bearer of the first roar. Amani took an instinctive step back. "What are you?" Theko trembled, rippling like water. "I am the roar of the unspoken, the cry of those never heard, the kings who were erased, and the roars that were denied." Kivuli tensed. "Do not trust it, Amani. The echo is every memory the circle feared." The echo drifted closer. "We were forgotten to protect the Pride lands, but silence is a wound, and you have torn it open." Amani felt the chamber thrum with sorrow. "If you were forgotten, then I want to understand why." The test of memory, the echo surged forward, enveloping him. Amani gasped as visions exploded before his eyes. He saw kings whose names were never carved into stone. queens who sacrificed themselves for cubs who never knew them, wars fought beneath moonless skies, cubs stolen by famine, jaws that echoed and were swallowed by the earth before they reached the sky. Amani cried out, collapsing to his knees. "Stop, there's too many, too much pain," the echo whispered. "This is the truth the circle hid. This is what you awaken with every roar." Amani struggled for breath. "Why show me this? Because you carry a roar that seeks to unify. But a circle is not whole when voices are missing." The chamber trembled violently. Part 29. The shattered crown of shadows. The Pride Lands had never felt so silent. After Amani's journey into the throne of echoes, whispers spread across the savannah like ripples in a disturbed river. The wind felt heavier, the colors dimmer, and the animals moved with cautious steps, sensing that the land itself was waiting. Watching, Amani stood on a ridge overlooking the plains, his chest still glowing faintly from the vision Sakai had forced upon him. The Keeper of Echoes had spoken of something ancient, returning something older than kings, older than the circle, older than the first roar itself. His mind was restless. The primordial darkness was never meant to be sealed forever. It was meant to return, too. Those words echoed in him like thunder. Kara approached from behind, her steps gentle but firm. "You haven't spoken since we left the chamber." Amani closed his eyes. "Because I don't know how to explain what I saw." Zira and Kovu stood close, tension etched in their faces. Even Kivali, usually calm, seemed uneasy, his ghostly form flickering as though the spiritual realm itself was trembling. "What did Sakai show you?" Kovu asked. Amani inhaled deeply. "Not a prophecy, a memory. From the beginning, the first lions weren't just rulers. They were created to guard something that the world feared, a force that shaped life but could destroy it just as easily." Zuri frowned. "The primordial darkness." Amani nodded. "It's not just awakening, it's reclaiming what it believes was stolen." Kivili stepped forward. "And it will not stop until it takes back the circle itself." Before Amani could answer, the ground beneath them trembled soft at first, then growing into a low roar that rolled through the earth. Birds scattered into the sky. Herds thundered across the plains in panic. From the north, a black mist rose like a storm. Kara's breath caught. "It's spreading." Kivili's voice darkened. "The seals you repaired, they are cracking again. Something is forcing its way through." Amani did not hesitate. "We must return to Pride Rock. The Pride must be warned." When they reached Pride Rock, the lions were already gathered, fearful, tense, sensing the disturbance. The sky had taken on a strange hue, streaks of red and violet swirling like bruises forming across the heavens. Rafiki stood atop a ledge, eyes wide with an ancient fear Amani had never seen in him. "The crown," Rafiki whispered, trembling. "The crown of shadows, it has shattered." Kara stepped forward. "What crown?" Rafiki took a shaky breath and tapped his staff onto the stone. "Sland. Long before Mufasa, before the great kings, before the circle. The ancestors created a crown, a spiritual seal that held the primordial darkness dormant, not destroyed, merely contained." Amani felt his blood run cold. "If the crown is shattered," he said slowly, "then the darkness is no longer confined." Rafiki nodded solemnly. "Its pieces fall into the world even now, and wherever they land, shadow will rise." The lions murmured anxiously. Kovu growled, trying to steady the pride. "Then we must find these fragments and restore the crown." Rafiki hesitated. "Only one lion can rebuild it. Only one whose roar holds memory, spirit, and earth." All eyes turned toward Amani. He swallowed hard. "This is why I was shown the throne of echoes. Why Sakai called me there." Kara placed a paw on his shoulder. "Then we face it together." Amani looked at his pride, his family, and nodded. "We begin at dawn." Dawn brought no warmth. The sky was veiled in dark clouds that pulsed faintly, as though alive. A strange energy flowed across the plains, bending grass, disturbing dust, making the land hum with unease. Amani led the group eastward, following the spiritual pool, tugging at him from deep within the earth. Kivali guided them through ravines, across shimmering riverbanks, and into ancient territories lost to time. As they traveled, they began to see the effects of the shattered crown, water turning still and black for moments, Trees whispering without wind, small animals freezing in place, eyes glazed with fear, shadows stretching in the wrong direction. Zuri shuddered. It's like the world itself is being rewritten. Amani felt it too. The very rhythm of life seemed unbalanced. Finally, they reached a vast canyon carved with purple light. In its center hovered the first fragment of the crown, an obsidian shard glowing with cold fire. Amani stepped forward, but as he did, the canyon darkened. A roar split the air, deep, ancient, full of rage. From the shadows rose a creature shaped like a lion, but made entirely of shifting darkness. Its eyes were hollow white flames. Its mane rippled like smoke. Rafiki gasped. A Shade King! A guardian of the primordial darkness. The Shade King roared again, its sound not like a voice, but like bones cracking inside the earth. Amani stood firm. I must take the fragment. Kiara and Kovu shielded him, claws out, ready to fight. The Shade King lunged, and the ground broke apart beneath their paws. Amani felt the pull of the crown fragment, calling to him both a beacon and a warning. He focused, letting the first roar rise in him. Memory voices, guiding him, spirit courage, lifting him earth strength, grounding him. Golden light burst from his chest, forming a barrier between him and the Shade King. The creature screamed, recoiling, but not retreating. Amani pushed forward, step by step, his light fighting the darkness swirling around him. The fragment vibrated violently, resisting him, testing him. 30. The rise of the primordial throne. The Pride Lands were no longer the same vibrant kingdom they once were. A strange twilight now covered the horizon, lingering even in daylight, an omen of the growing imbalance. The sky pulsed with dark veins of shadow, spreading outward from the north like cracks in the heavens themselves. Amani stood at the edge of a cliff, the fragment of the crown of shadows glowing faintly beside him. He watched the distant plains ripple with unnatural movements, shadows stretching where no light touched, whispers circling like restless spirits. Kiara approached quietly. The land feels scared, she said softly. Amani didn't look away from the horizon. It's not fear, it's warning us. The darkness knows we've taken the first fragment. Kovu and Zira arrived moments later, each wearing the same expression of concern. How many fragments remain? Ziri asked. Kivali materialized in a soft swirl of spectral mist. His voice echoed with urgency. 7 pieces, scattered across the circle, each one guarded by a Shade King more powerful than the last. Kovu tensed. Then we better move. Tor. The more time we waste, the stronger the darkness grows. Amani turned toward them, determination burning in his eyes. Then we aim for the second fragment. The journey through the Obsidian Lowlands. The group headed south, toward the Obsidian Lowlands, an ancient region where the ground itself was carved by forgotten storms. Volcano-like fissures pulsed with purple light as they walked, each step echoing through the hollow earth. Rafiki had warned them of this place. Amani could still hear his trembling voice. Where shadows breathe, courage must burn brighter. As they entered the lowlands, the air thickened. The sky darkened as if swallowing itself whole. Strange stone pillars rose like the ribs of a massive beast, some cracked, some humming with energy. Zuri stopped suddenly. Do you hear that? Everyone froze. A whisper, then another, then hundreds, voices overlapping, eerie cold. Return, return, return to us. The wind passed through them in a chilling wave, carrying the voices of lions long dead. Kavali hovered closer to Amani. These are echo spirit souls trapped between the light and the darkness. They are drawn to the crown fragment you carry. Amani swallowed. We keep moving. The second fragment, the lowlands, opened into a massive crater. At its center floated a shard of the crown, larger than the first, radiating a cold violet glow. The earth trembled around it. Amani stepped forward, but before he could approach, a deep rumble split the air. From the crater walls rose a colossal Shade King twice the size of the previous one. Its mane crackled like black lightning, and its eyes glowed a violent purple. Kiara whispered, "That thing, it's stronger than Enkiro." Kivali nodded gravely. This one is Varun, the keeper of despair. Feeds on the fear of the living and the regrets of the dead. Varun's voice boomed, shaking stones loose. Child of the circle. You seek to rebuild the crown that bound us. You dare defy what was promised to the darkness. Amani stepped forward boldly. I protect the circle. You stand in the way of life itself. Varun roared a roar so powerful it shattered the stone pillars around them. Shadows erupted from the crater, twisting like serpents, slamming into the ground and forming dark creatures. Kovu snarled. We hold them back. A moment ago, the lowlands exploded into chaos. Kovu and Ziri leaped at the shadow beasts, claws slashing through smoke-like bodies. Kiara faced Varun head-on, dodging massive strikes that shattered the earth on impact. Amani ran toward the fragment, but every step felt heavier, as if the air itself fought against him. You carry the weight of kings you cannot match. You will fail. Amani, the circle will fall because of you. The whispers crawled into his mind, pulling memories and twisting them. He stumbled, nearly collapsing. Kivali appeared beside him, voice cutting through the suffocating noise. The roar is not just power, it's truth. Let the first roar guide you. Amani inhaled deeply. Memory, spirit, earth, the three voices resonated within him. He roared, golden energy bursting from his body, scattering the whispers like dust. Varun howled as the light struck him. Amani pushed forward, reaching the shard. The moment his paw touched it, a shockwave blasted across the crater. Light tore through the shadows, burning them away. The fragment glowed brighter, merging with the energy in Amani's chest. Varun staggered, cracks of golden light ripping through his dark form. No, you cannot restore the crown. The darkness will. His body shattered into a storm of violet ash. Silence washed over the lowlands. Amani collapsed, breathing heavily. Kiara rushed to his side. Amani, are you all right? He nodded slowly and lifted the new fragment, now glowing warmly, to pieces. We're getting closer. Kivali floated beside him, eyes dark with worry. The darkness knows your strength now. It will no longer send guardians. It will send hunters. Amani stood tall despite the exhaustion. Then, let them come. I'll face whatever it takes. The sky thundered in response, dark clouds spiraling into a vortex far in the distance. A new threat had awakened. Part 31. The hunt of the Abbey's-born. The night over the Pride Lands was unlike any night before. The stars flickered weakly, as if smothered by an unseen force, and a cold breeze swept across the plains, one that carried no scent, no warmth, only silence. Amani stood atop Pride Rock, the two fragments of the crown of shadows resting before him. Their combined glow pulsed faintly, resonating like a heartbeat. But beneath that hum, Amani felt something else, something watching. Kiara joined him quietly, her fur brushed by the ghostly wind. You sense it too, she whispered. Amani nodded. Kivali was right. The darkness is done sending guardians. He exhaled. Now it sends hunters. Below them, Kovu, Ziri and the others prepared supplies for their next journey. Rafiki traced symbols on the ground with his staff, muttering warnings Amani wished he didn't understand. But then the sky quivered. A deep tremor rolled through the earth, so powerful that dust burst from cracks in the stone. Amani braced himself. Pride Rock groaned beneath them. Ziri shouted from below, Amani, something is coming. The arrival of the Abbey's-born. A shadow fell across the land. Not cast by a cloud, not by any creature known to the circle. This shadow crawled. It slithered across the ground like spilled ink, swallowing grass, stone, and light itself. And then, from the horizon, shapes began to rise from the darkness. At first, then expanding, forming monstrous silhouettes. Kivali materialized with a jolt of urgency. Those are not Shade Kings, they are Abbey's-born. Kovu stiffened. What are Abbey's-born? Kivali's gaze darkened. The personal hunters of the primordial darkness. Born not from shadow, but from the absence of all creation. As the Abbey's-born approached, their shapes solidified lion-like, but twisted for glowing eyes, limbs that bent wrong, mouths that split too wide, bodies dripping with darkness like tar. The ground froze under their steps. Amani swallowed. We're not ready to fight all of them. Kivali shook his head. You are not meant to fight them. You are meant to escape them. A deafening roar erupted from the lead Abbey's-born, splitting the air. It was not a roar of anger, it was a signal. And in an instant, the hunt begins. The Abyssborn launched forward, impossible fast, tearing across the plains like living storms. Move! Amani shouted. The Pridelanders scattered. Kovu and Zuri led the lionesses away from the oncoming darkness, while Kiara leaped beside Amani, ready to defend him with her life. The first Abyssborn lunged at Amani, its claws dragging streaks of void through the air. Amani barely dodged, the strike carving into the stone behind him and leaving a patch of nothingness and empty void where matter simply vanished. Kiara's struck the creature's flank with a mighty swipe. Her claws passed through nothing. The creature simply reshaped around the blow. Kiara's eyes widened. "You can't even touch them!" Kivali shouted. "Their bodies are made of unshaped darkness. Only Amani's light can harm them." "Amani!" Kovu yelled, engaging another Abyssborn. "Get out of here! We'll cover you!" "No!" Amani roared back. "I'm not leaving you!" The second Abyssborn snapped its jaws towards Ziri, who rolled away just in time. The ground where she had stood disappeared into a black crater. Ziri gasped. That thing just erased it. The creatures were not killing, they were consuming reality. The escape to the Sky Pass. Kivali flew close to Amani. Your next fragment lies beyond the Sky Pass. But you cannot outrun these creatures on land. You must lead them away. Part 32. The Light of Lumarai, 10 to 12 minutes long video script English. The Sky Pass shimmered with the glow of the first king's ancient symbols, casting a serene light over Amani's fur. The Abyssborn howled from beyond, their dark forms slithering across the plains. But here, in this sacred corridor, they could not follow. Amani steadied his breath. The air felt alive, humming with anticipation. The voice from the shadows. Lumarai, the first king of light, had called him. The golden fragments of the crown of shadows pulsed in response, reacting to the unseen power that now awaited. A figure stepped fully into the glow. A magnificent lion, taller and more radiant than any Amani had ever seen. Its fur shimmered like molten starlight, eyes deep pools of wisdom and ancient power. "I am Lumarai," the lion said, voice echoing like both a whisper and a roar at once. "I forged the circle, created the balance that governs life, and bound the primordial darkness for the first time. And now, it stirs again." Amani lowered his gaze, feeling the weight of generations pressing on him. "I have reclaimed 2 fragments of the crown, but the Abyssborn are relentless. I fear I may not be enough." Lumarai stepped closer, each poffle glowing with light. "You are not alone. The first roar is within you, as it was within those before you. But strength alone will not save the circle. Wisdom, courage, and unity must guide every step. You must ascend the primordial throne, the place where light and darkness meet, to complete your journey." Amani's heart raced. "The throne, the primordial throne. You mean the place beyond the fragments?" Lumarai nodded. "There, you will face the truth of the circle, the origin of the first roar, and the power that even the ancestors feared. Only by embracing both light and shadow within yourself can you hope to restore balance." The lion's words resonated deeply. Every heartbeat pulsed with urgency. Amani could feel the fragments warming under his mane, guiding him, as if urging him forward. "The Abyssborn will not give you time," Lumarai warned. "They are not guardians, they are hunters, and they will follow until either you or they fall. But I will guide you through the light path. It will reveal the way to the throne. But only if you trust the first roar completely." Amani looked at Kiara, Kovu, Ziri, and even Kivali, their faces etched with courage. They had survived the Abyssborn hunt, but he knew the path ahead would test them all in ways they had never imagined. "I understand," Amani said, lifting his head. "Then we move forward. The primordial throne awaits, and the circle must be protected." The Sky Pass shimmered brighter, casting a path of luminescent light across the mountains and valleys. The group moved carefully, each step a balance between hope and fear. Shadows flickered at the edges, remnants of the Abyssborn still circling, yet unable to touch them in this sacred corridor. As they climbed higher, visions of the past appeared in the mist, the forging of the circle, the first roar echoing across empty plains, kings rising and falling, and the primordial darkness being bound with chains of light. Amani felt the weight of it all, the responsibility, the legacy, the power that he now carried. The primordial throne was not just a destination, it was the culmination of every lesson, every battle, and every roar that had shaped the Pride Lands. Finally, the corridor opened to a vast chamber. At its center stood a throne carved from light and shadow, its surface shimmering with both brilliance and darkness intertwined. Fear thrummed with energy, and the fragments in Amani's mane responded, aligning themselves as if drawn by an invisible force. "This is it," Lumarai said, his voice soft but commanding. "Step forward, child of the circle. Your roar must harmonize with the throne. Only then can the primordial darkness be bound once more." Amani inhaled deeply, feeling the three voices memory, spirit, earth merge within him. The fragments glowed brighter than ever, and the light of the throne responded, pulsing in harmony with his heartbeat. The chamber shook as a low rumble echoed through the mountains. Somewhere in the distance, the Abyssborn roared, sensing the surge of power. But here, in the primordial throne, their reach was limited. They could not interfere, only watch. Amani stepped onto the throne's dais. Light and shadows swirled around him. For a moment, he felt fear, the enormity of the task pressing down like the weight of the entire circle. Then he roared, not just a roar of strength, but a roar of understanding, courage, and unity. The fragments of the crown fused into his roar, golden energy spiraling outward, intertwining with the shadows of the throne. Visions of the past, present, and possible futures raced through him, showing him what must be preserved, what must be forgiven, and what must be contained. The primordial throne responded, rising with radiant power. Light and shadow merged into a single force, a living echo of the circle itself. Amani's roar became a symphony of the first kings, the first roar, and the hope of all life in the Pride Lands. The Abyssborn howled from afar, unable to breach the throne's light. For the first time in ages, the Pride Lands felt the balance return. The sky shimmered, the winds calmed, and even the distant valleys seemed to breathe in relief. Lumarai approached, his eyes gleaming with pride. "The path is not over, but you have taken the first step toward true balance. The primordial throne recognizes you. The circle will endure because of your courage." Amani exhaled, exhaustion and relief flooding through him. Yet in the back of his mind, he knew more trials awaited, more fragments, more Abyssborn, more challenges to the circle's survival. But for now, he had awakened the primordial throne. The journey continued, the roar of hope echoing across the Pride Lands. The adventure was far from over. Part 33. The storm of the broken sky, the Trono Primordial still hummed with fading echoes of Amani's roar as the group stood at the edge of the sacred chamber, trying to steady their breath. The light and shadow swirling around the throne slowly calmed, leaving behind a soft glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. But that calm didn't last. A sudden tremor rattled the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling, and a low guttural rumble rolled through the mountains. Deep, ancient, and angry, Kivali stiffened. "That is not from the Abyssborn." Kovu narrowed his eyes. "Then what is it?" Amani stepped forward, still glowing faintly with the energy of the throne. "Something has awakened. The sky breaks." Outside, the moment they stepped out of the sacred corridor, the world had changed. The sky, once a dim twilight, was now tearing open with spirals of swirling black clouds. Lightning cracked not with light, but with shadow. The wind howled with a voice like 1,000 screams, each gust heavy with malice. Zuri flinched as a bolt of dark lightning slammed into the mountainside, splitting a massive boulder clean in half. "What is happening?" Lumarai appeared beside them, his form flickering like unstable light. His voice was grave, more serious than ever. El Despotar del Trono has sent a shockwave through the circle. B Darkness has sensed a threat greater than before, and it responds with its avatar. Amani's heart tightened. An avatar of the darkness itself, Lumarai nodded. A fragment of the primordial abyss, given form. A creature neither shadow nor flesh, a being born from the hatred of broken ages. It seeks the throne. And it seeks you, Amani. Kiara looked out across the trembling valley. Where's it coming from? Lumarai lifted his gaze. From the broken sky, the falling star, a piercing shriek tore through the heavens. All eyes lifted just in time to see a blazing mass of violet fire ripping through the storm clouds. It moved like a falling star, but its trail was wrong. Distorted, alive, twisting like tendrils of living shadow, it crashed into the distant plains with the force of a mountain collapsing. The shockwave hit them seconds later, dust wind, and a pulse of darkness that made the air vibrate. Amani gritted his teeth as the fragments in his mane flickered. Ziri whispered, "What was that?" Lumarai's expression darkened. "Its name is Drazen, the harbinger of the abyss. The darkness has sent him to stop your ascension. He will not wait. He is already hunting." Kovu's claws slid out. "Then we should strike first. If this thing wants Amani, it has to go through us." Amani shook his head. "No, Drazen is not like the Shade Kings. He's stronger, faster, and he won't hesitate." Kivali floated closer, his voice colder than usual. "He was born from the shattering of the original crown created, from the hatred that spilled when the first light chained the dark. He exists for one purpose: to extinguish the roar." The journey to the impact site there was no time to waste. The group raced down the mountain path as the sky roared above them. Shadow, lightning cracked across the horizon, lighting their way in bursts of purple and black. As they neared the plains, the ground became charred. Trees had been reduced to ash. The air smelled like burning stone. Then, they reached it. A massive crater lay ahead, smoldering with violet flames. The soil was blackened, the rocks melted, and shadows crawled over the ground like living snakes. Amani felt a chill creep through his bones. From the smoke rose a shape, tall, towering, terrifying. Its body was made of shifting shadow, its chest glowing with a cracking violet core. 4 glowing eyes blinked independently, each filled with ancient fury. Its voice scraped like claws across stone. "Child of light, your roar threatens the abyss. I have come to silence you." The morning sun cut through the mist of the Pride Lands. Kiara stood atop the cliff, her golden fur glowing in the light. Her eyes scanned the horizon, searching for Kovu, who had gone off early to scout the territory. "Kovu," she called, her voice carrying across the rocks. "Where are you?" A rustle in the tall grass answered her. Kovu emerged, his dark mane glinting in the sunlight. "I'm here, Kiara. I found something unusual." Kiara trotted over, curiosity flickering in her amber eyes. "What is it?" He pointed to a trail of footprints, fresh, unfamiliar. "These aren't ours. Something or someone came through here recently." Kiara's ears twitched. Could it be the hyenas? "They've been moving closer again, matey," Kovu said, lowering his voice. "But these prints, they're bigger and heavier." Someone strong, a sense of unease settled over them. The Pride Lands had felt safe for years, but now a shadow was creeping in, one that even Kovu and Kiara might not fully understand. Suddenly, a branch snapped behind them. Kiara and Kovu spun around, muscles tensed. From the shadows emerged a sleek, dark figure, a lion, unfamiliar, with piercing green eyes. "Who are you?" Kovu demanded, stepping protectively in front of Kiara. The stranger's eyes gleamed. "I am Zuberi," he said calmly. "I come with a warning." Kiara tilted her head. "A warning? About what?" "About the north," Zuberi said, pacing slowly. "There is a storm coming. One that could tear the Pride Lands apart." Kovu growled. "Storms come and go. Why should we believe you?" Zuberi's gaze hardened. "Because it's not a storm of wind and rain. It's a storm of old rivalries, long buried. And someone is trying to awaken them." Kiara's eyes narrowed. "Someone is trying to awaken the past." "What do you mean?" Zuberi's tail flicked. "The old kingdoms. The secret alliances. There are forces that were thought defeated, but they are returning. And if they are not stopped, the Pride Lands will burn." A cold wind swept through the cliffside. Kiara shivered. "Then we must act. We can't let that happen." Kovu nodded. "But how? We don't even know who or what we're up against." Zuberi's green eyes glowed brighter. "You do not need to know everything. You only need courage and trust in each other. Kiara stepped closer to Kovu. Their bond stronger than any fear. We've faced challenges before. We survived. We'll survive this too. Zuberi tilted his head. Survival will not be enough. You must unite the Pride Lands. And beyond. Old enemies will come, testing your strength, your will, and your loyalty. Kiara's ears flicked. Beyond the Pride Lands? Yes, Zuberi said solemnly. There are lions who are hidden, scattered through distant lands. They are the key to balance. And if they are not found, the storm will consume everything. Kovu's tail lashed nervously. Then we must find them, but how do we even begin? Zuberi's voice dropped to a whisper. Follow the northern winds. They will guide you to the lost prides. But beware, the path is filled with trials, illusions, traps, and betrayals. Only together can you succeed. Kiara's golden eyes blazed with determination. Then we leave at once. There's no time to waste. Kovu nodded. Together, always. As they turned to descend from the cliff, a sudden shadow passed over them. From the trees, glowing eyes watched silently. Predators, or something far more sinister, Kiara growled. Did you see that? Zuberi shook his head. Stay focused. The first trial begins as soon as you leave the cliff. The path is dangerous, but I believe in your strength. And in your hearts. The wind picked up, carrying whispers of the past voices of lions long gone, their roars echoing across the plains. Kiara took a deep breath. This is it, Kovu. The journey begins. And we will face whatever comes. Together, Kovu's voice was firm. No storm, no enemy, no shadow can stop us. We are the Pride, and we fight as one. From above, the sun blazed brighter, illuminating their path. The journey ahead would test everything they knew, but for Kiara and Kovu, courage and unity would be their guide. The savannah stretched endlessly before them, a land of promise and peril. Every step would bring them closer to allies, enemies, and secrets that could reshape their world forever. And high above, unseen, the storm began to stir. The sky was still streaked with the aftermath of the last storm. Clouds dark and heavy over the Pride Lands. Kiara stood at the edge of the cliff, wind whipping through her mane, her eyes fixed on the horizon where the unknown awaited. Kovu, do you really think we're ready for what's out there? She asked, her voice steady but tinged with worry. Kovu stepped beside her, tail flicking as he scanned the lands below. We don't have a choice, Kiara. Every step we've taken has led us here. The circle, the origin, it's all waiting for us. We either face it now or never. A low rumble shook the ground beneath them. The distant mountains seemed alive, shadows twisting between the peaks as if the land itself was warning them. Kiara crouched, ears twitching. Do you hear that? It's the echo, Kovu whispered, his voice barely audible over the wind. The one we've been chasing. It's closer than we thought. Without another word, they began their descent into the valley. Every step was cautious. The grass was slick from the storm, and strange footprints marred the ground, large clawed prints that weren't entirely familiar. Something's watching us, Kiara said. Her eyes darted to a nearby tree, where a shadow moved just beyond the branches. Kovu growled low. We're not alone. Stay close. The valley opened up to a wide plain. In the distance, a river sparkled, reflecting the faint light of the setting sun. But the peaceful scene was deceiving. The air felt charged, heavy, and almost alive with anticipation. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Kiara stumbled, but Kovu caught her in time. From the far end of the plain, a figure emerged, tall, imposing, with eyes that burned like fire. The first Shadow King. Kiara's heart pounded. It can't be. He's supposed to be gone. Kovu's tail stiffened. He's real, and he's been waiting for us. The Shadow King's voice rolled across the plain, deep and resonant. So, the heirs of the circle arrive at last. Did you think you could reach the origin without facing me? Kiara swallowed hard. We didn't come here for a fight. We came for the truth. The Shadow King laughed, a sound that shook the leaves and made the river ripple unnaturally. Truth. There is no truth here. Only power, only survival. And if you wish to step further, you must earn it. Kovu stepped forward, teeth bared. "We've faced storms, monsters, and betrayal. We can face you too." The Shadow King's eyes glowed, and the shadows of the valley twisted, forming monstrous shapes that lunged toward them. Kiara leaped, her claws slicing through one of the shadow beasts. Kovu followed, his movements precise and powerful. They fought side by side, each strike a testament to their bond and training. The shadows were relentless, but Kiara felt something within her stirring a connection to the circle, a power that pulsed through her veins, guiding her movements. "This isn't just about strength," she shouted to Kovu. "It's about trust. We have each other, and that's stronger than any shadow." With renewed energy, they pushed forward, breaking through the waves of darkness. The Shadow King's laughter faltered, and for the first time, Kiara saw hesitation in his eyes. "You are resilient," he admitted. "But the origin is not won by courage alone. It tests hearts, minds, and souls. Are you ready to see what awaits?" Kovu nodded. "We are to ground." Beneath them cracked open, revealing a glowing path. Light shimmered, illuminating the secrets buried for centuries. Kiara and Kovu exchanged a glance, fear and determination mirrored in each other's eyes. They stepped forward together, entering the origin. The air was thick with energy, visions of past kings and warriors swirling around them. Each vision challenged their resolve, forcing them to confront doubts, fears, and regrets. Kiara felt herself trembling but refused to fall. "I won't let fear control me," she whispered. "Not here, not ever." Kovu reached for her paw. "We face it together. Whatever comes, we face it as one." The origin responded to their unity, divisions softened, the shadows receded, and a new light emerged, revealing the hidden fragment of the circle, the piece that would change the fate of the Pride Lands forever. Kiara stepped forward, her heart swelling. "This is it, the key to everything." But the Shadow King's voice echoed one last time, warning, "The journey is far from over. The storm you've awakened is only beginning." Kovu growled, "Resolute then we'll face the storm." Together, the wind howled, the sky darkened, but the light of the origin bathed them in hope. The circle was awakening, and so were they. Their adventure had only just begun, and the Pride Lands would never be the same. Have you ever wondered what would happen if a Disney princess met a Disney villain's heir when they were just kids? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most powerful and underrated love stories in the Disney universe, the tale of Kiara and Kovu from The Lion King 2. Simba's Pride. It's a story that asks a huge question: can love truly conquer a legacy of hate? Let's find out. Our story begins in the vast, sun-drenched Pride Lands, a kingdom still healing from the dark reign of Scar. King Simba, now a father, is fiercely protective of his daughter, Princess Kiara. He's seen the worst of the world, and he's determined to shield her from it. But Kiara is a true lion cub, brimming with curiosity and a thirst for adventure that just can't be contained. She's spirited, playful, and a little bit rebellious. One day, while her bumbling babysitters Timon and Pumbaa are distracted, Kiara sees her chance. She slips away from the safety of Pride Rock, her heart pounding with the thrill of the unknown, venturing further and further from home. Drawn toward the shadowy borders of her kingdom, the Forbidden Outlands. It's in this desolate, unwelcoming territory that her world is about to change forever. As she explores the strange, dusty landscape, she literally stumbles upon another cub. But this isn't his fur is a deep, rich brown, his eyes are startling green, and he carries an air of toughness that Kiara has never seen before. His name is Kovu. Their first encounter is tense. They circle each other like two young warriors, sniffing the air, their bodies coiled with suspicion. Generations of conflict and prejudice hang unspoken between them. Kovu, raised in exile, breaks the silence first. His voice is bold, challenging. "Who are you, Pridelander?" he asks, sizing her up. Kiara, never one to be intimidated, tilts her head, her own courage flaring. "What are you doing here?" she counters. "My father says never to turn your back on an outsider." You can just feel the weight of Simba's words in that moment. The inherited fear passed down from father to daughter. But Kovu just smirks, a flash of defiance in his eyes. He pokes at her obedience. You always do what Daddy says. It's the perfect challenge. Kiara's pride is stung. Bet you don't, she shoots back. Kovu puffs out his little chest, trying to look big and strong. An outsider doesn't need anybody, he declares with a fierce independence, born from a harsh life. I take care of myself. Instead of being scared or put off, Kiara is fascinated. A grin spreads across her face. Really? Cool. And just like that, with one word, the wall of suspicion begins to crumble. The tension dissolves, replaced by the simple, universal language of play. It's a magical transformation. The labels of Pridelander and outsider melt away, leaving just two cubs, eager for fun. Kiara darts ahead, her playful nature taking over. You run, I tag, she calls out. Kovu, who has probably never experienced this kind of carefree joy, laughs and leaps after her. They chase each other across the dry grass, tumbling, rolling, and pouncing in a whirlwind of laughter and energy. In this moment, they aren't enemies destined for conflict. They're just kids discovering a new friend. As they play, they find themselves near a river filled with crocodiles. In a moment of teamwork, they escape the snapping jaws together, their shared danger forging an even stronger bond. Panting and exhilarated, they catch their breath on a safe ledge. Wow, Kiara says, her eyes wide. That was a close one. A genuine smile touches Kovu's lips, perhaps one of the first real smiles of his life. You're pretty brave, he admits, a newfound respect in his voice. Kiara giggles, her heart light. So are you. It's a beautiful, pure moment of friendship, blossoming in the most unlikely of places. They see each other not for who their families are, but for who they are as individuals. But this perfect moment of connection is tragically short-lived. A massive shadow falls over them, instantly chilling the air. Simba has arrived, and he is furious. His eyes blaze with a protective fire that only a father can have. Rah, he growls, and the single word is enough to freeze his daughter in her tracks. His roar rips through the savannah, a terrifying display of power and anger directed at the small cub beside his daughter. Get out of the Pridelands. Before Kovu can even react, another presence emerges from the shadows. Behind Simba, the outsiders appear a pack of lionesses, their bodies lean and scarred from a life of hardship, their faces etched with resentment. At their head stands a fearsome lioness with eyes sharp with a burning, obsessive anger. This is Zira Kovu's mother. The atmosphere crackles with old hatred. Zira's voice cuts through the tension, filled with a sense of righteous fury. These lands belong to Scar, she declares, her words a direct challenge to Simba's rule. Simba's mane bristles. He stands tall, a king defending his territory and his family. Scar is gone, he retorts, his voice low and dangerous. I banished you and your kind. You have no place here. Zira lets out a chilling, scornful laugh. She looks at Simba with pure contempt and then reveals her ultimate weapon, her plan for revenge. Then meet my son, Kovu, she snarls, shoving the young cub forward. She proclaims he was chosen by Scar himself to follow in his paw prints and become king. Simba's gaze drops to the small trembling cub, who, just moments before, was laughing and playing with his daughter. All the warmth is gone from Simba's eyes, replaced by a cold, hard judgment. That's no king, he says dismissively, seeing not a child, but the heir to his greatest enemy. Zira's voice then drips with a venomous mix of desperation and manipulation. She speaks of their exile in the Outlands, a place where food is scarce and water scarcer. She knows she has broken Simba's law by returning. You know the penalty for returning, she says. But the child does not. You must take your pound of flesh, then take him. It's a twisted, horrifying gamble, sacrificing her own son to guilt-trip the king. But then she delivers her final, chilling promise, a vow of unending war. But know this, Simba, we are not finished. As Simba stands firm, shielding Kiara behind him, Zira retreats. Her sinister laughter echoes across the savannah, a haunting promise of the conflict to come. Her eyes remain fixed on Pride Rock, a symbol of everything she believes was stolen from her. And in the middle of this epic clash of kings and queens, of past sins and future wars, are two small cubs. Kiara and Kovu, who had just discovered the joy of friendship, are torn apart. They are pulled back into their separate worlds by the immense, crushing weight of their parents' history. Their innocent connection is the first casualty in a war they didn't start. This single meeting sets the stage for everything that follows, a story of forbidden love, inherited hate, and the hope that the next generation can heal the wounds of the past. What do you think? Was Simba right to be so harsh, or was he letting his own trauma cloud his judgment? Could this one moment have changed everything if the parents had reacted differently? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks so much for watching and exploring this amazing story with me. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you won't miss our next Disney analysis. Until next time, stay magical. The first light of dawn crept across the wounded land, painting the plains in soft gold. Smoke rose from the battlefield where two prides had clashed, and silence followed, the kind of silence that feels too heavy, too still. Karo stood over Naya, his heart pounding, his breath shallow. Around them, the sun pride and the night pride lay scattered, exhausted, broken, but alive. The war had stopped, not because either side had won, but because something else had silenced them all. Karo turned toward the ridge. The wind carried a strange scent, not of lion, not of any creature he knew. It was cold, metallic, almost ancient. He saw movement silhouettes, large and slow, emerging from the shimmering heat beyond the desert. Naya stirred weakly beside him. What is that? Karo didn't answer. His father, King Zira, had seen it too. His face, normally carved from stone, flickered with something Karo had never seen before: fear. Then came the sound. A low, guttural growl that rumbled through the ground. Every lion froze. The figures stepped into the light, lions, but not like them. Their fur was dark gray, scarred and coarse like ash. Their eyes glowed faintly red, and their leader wore a jagged scar across his muzzle. King Raho stepped forward, his mane glinting in the dawn. "Who are you, Beth?" The stranger's voice was deep, calm, dangerous. "We are the Dusk Pride. You fight over old grudges while the land dies around you. We come to claim what's left." Vero snarled. "You dare cross into our plains?" The stranger smiled, baring long teeth. "Your plains? No, old king, you bled them dry. We only take what your hate left behind." Fear thickened. Lions from both prides formed uneasy lines, forgetting their feud for the first time. Karo whispered, "They're too many." Raho growled, "We hold the ridge. This is our home." The Dusk Pride leader took one step forward. "Then you will die defending it." Before anyone could speak, a dark lioness leaped from his side, faster than lightning. She struck one of the Sun Pride scouts, sending him tumbling into the dust. Chaos erupted again, but this time, it wasn't war between sun and night, it was survival. Karo and Nia fought side by side, claws flashing, hearts pounding. For every enemy they pushed back, two more seemed to appear. The Dusk Lions moved like shadows, silent and ruthless. King Raho roared commands. "Hold the line, protect the young." But the Dusk Pride didn't care for honor. They fought to end, not to conquer. Amid the chaos, Karo caught sight of their leader watching from afar, calm, observing, not fighting, just waiting. Karo's father lunged toward him. "Coward, face me." The Dusk leader only smiled. "Patience, Vero. All kings fall in time." Holiday. He gave a subtle signal, and a group of lions flanked Vero from behind. Karo shouted, "Father!" and leaped forward, striking one away, but another raked his shoulder. Vero turned, teeth bared, but one of the Dusk Lions slammed into him, sending him sprawling. Raho saw it and charged. The two kings, once enemies, now stood back to back against the invaders. For the first time, they fought not for pride or vengeance, but for survival. Hours passed before the battle waned. The Dusk Pride withdrew slowly, leaving only silence and fear behind. The air was thick with smoke and dust. Raho limped toward the ridge, mane torn, blood streaking his flank. "They'll come again," he muttered, And next time, they won't stop. Vero lay nearby, breathing heavily. His son knelt beside him. Father, don't speak. Vero raised a paw weakly. No, Caro, listen to me. His voice was rough, trembling. You are right. I was blinded by hate. Your love for her, it's the only thing that can save them now. Save who? Caro asked. Everyone. Vero's eyes softened. When I'm gone, protect them. Protect her. Caro shook his head, tears burning in his eyes. No, you'll see the next dawn. But Vero only smiled faintly. Then promise me, son. Promise you won't become me. Caro pressed his head against his father's paw. I promise. As the sun set again over the blood-stained plains, two prides gathered what strength remained. They buried their fallen under the red earth, side by side, sun and night together. For the first time in generations, their roars rose together in mourning, not anger. That night, the stars shimmered faintly above the silent ridge. Naya sat beside Caro, her head resting against his shoulder. He's right, she whispered. The Dusk Pride won't stop. They'll come again. Caro looked at her, his gaze steady. Then we have to unite them. Unite them, she echoed. The prides, he said. Yours and mine. My father's dying wish, your father's greatest fear. It's the only way. She smiled sadly. Our fathers would never have agreed. Caro's eyes darkened. Then maybe we don't ask. A long silence. The wind rustled through the grass. Nia whispered, they'll never follow us. Then we'll lead them by example. Together, always. They leaned close, and for a moment, the world was still. But then a low growl rolled across the plains. From the far ridge, torches flickered. The Dusk Pride had returned, not alone this time, but with hyenas at their side, dozens of them, their laughter echoing in the night. Raho's voice rose from the camp. Two arms. Caro stood, mane blowing in the wind. They won't rest. Naya stepped beside him, her eyes fierce. Then neither will we. As the two prides scrambled to defend what was left of their home, Nia's gaze turned toward the horizon. In the distance, beyond the dark line of the desert, she saw something faint, but real. A flicker of light, a reflection like fire. Caro, she said quietly, someone else is out there. He followed her gaze. What do you mean? The Dusk Lions. They're not the only ones moving across the sands. Thunder rolled in the distance, though no storm followed. Caro looked at her, heart heavy with both hope and dread. Then this isn't the end. No, she whispered. It's only beginning. And as the moon rose over the wounded earth, their shadows stretched long and joined, one golden, one dark, standing side by side as the savannah trembled under the weight of the coming storm. To be continued.